During this time of joy and celebration, we give thanks for family, friends, and all of the bountiful blessings that you have bestowed upon us. Be with the men and women in the armed forces that are deployed overseas apart from their loved ones. Encourage and strengthen them, we pray. Bless our meeting this night. Amen.
We had two closed sessions earlier, starting at 5 o'clock, and we had a conference with the labor negotiator, the city representative Scott Finley, and no action was taken. And we also had a conference with our legal counsel on anticipated litigation, and at this time no action was taken. We'll move on to public comment. At this time, anyone wishing to make a public comment, please step forward, state your name and address, be on anything except what's intended for this evening.
Dr. Paul Clifton, I noticed in the Democrat on the 5th of December.
Yeah, we're having a hard time hearing you. Maybe you can pull that thing closer to you.
I noticed in the Democrat on December 5th, there was a statement in there of people 65 and older and lower income people would get a credit on their property tax or on their electric, internet, telephones, cellular water, and wastewater in many cases. And I was curious how people applied for that and what the status of that is.
Well, the status right now is it's just being discussed and talked about. Nothing has been done yet, but it is a potential.
Well, I know it happened at Senate Risk. CCWD does have that and has had it for quite a few years.
It is a possibility that something like that would occur, but at this particular time, it's only being discussed.
Any idea when it will be?
No, I really don't.
How can I find out?
Well,
Should
you're
I talk to?
until more issues are going to come up with the way to finance.
Is there a congressman I should talk to or
Pardon?
something? Is there a congressman I should talk to?
Well, you can if you wish.
Would that help?
I'm not sure. Deal with the city of Angels Camp. I'm not sure if that's.
Okay. Sorry.
Anybody else who has public comment?
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to address you for a few moments. I want to talk about the water rates and the sewer rates. I guess you guys heard that before.
Could you give us your name and address, please?
Donnie Brookshire, 1432 Oak Place, Angels Camp.
Thank you.
I've lived up here for 29 years. Angels Camp the last 9 years. The rest of the we lived in a number of towns, communities, cities in our 52 years of marriage. I've never, ever lived in a place that's as costly as Angels Camp, and I'll be darned if I can figure out why. Mr. Scheer and Geo recently stated that they needed to relook at the water and sewer rates because of anticipated growth. I'll give you some examples of that. This town was incorporated in 1912. And in order to incorporate, they'd have 1,000 people, so we have to assume they have 1,000. Today's population is 3,760 according to the internet. That was 96 years ago. And in 96 years, we've grown 28 people per year. I don't think we really got a land rush going on here, Mr. Scheer. We pay in the paper, Calaveras Enterprise on Friday, December 5th, There was an article that said that the water rates were $47.04 a month, the base rate. I got my bill here that says we pay $74 and whatever, $74 a month. So my question is, why am I paying $74 a month when it's supposed to be $47? Anybody got an answer?
Well, the $47 is your base rate, and if you use over the base rate, then you have to pay for the extra water that you use.
Sir, my base rate is $74 a month. I can go out and turn the valve off at the meter and still pay $74 a month.
I believe it's $47 a month.
Well, let me give you a bill.
Look at that, water usage, not the usage, but the water. Is that in there?
Not necessarily. I mean, as far as the usage,
No, not the usage, the
Base rate.
base rate of water. Is that a residential?
Yes, sir.
We need to look at that.
yeah, we can do.
We'll have, Melissa take that to City Hall and calculate that out and see.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
What the problem is, if that is a residential, which you're saying it is, so.
It is. Look up the address, 1342.
I believe it. So we're gonna check it out, and then they're gonna get back, make sure they have your address and your email, if you have one.
Sure.
And they will contact you. Okay?
Somebody owes me some money.
That's a possibility.
Okay, we're talking about potential growth in the future. At 28 people a year, that's no land rush. We really don't need to raise the rates on that, and that doesn't fly. Instead of looking at ways to increase our taxes and our fees, why don't we look at ways to reduce the costs of this little government? And I can give you one, the police department. According to the police department's webpage, they have 10 people. So you have one sworn officer for every 376 people here. PORAC is an acronym of Peace Officer Research Association of California. I'm a retired police officer. When I was in the department, it was one sworn officer for every 2,000 people. Then it got down to 1,500, then 1,000. Pretty much stayed at 1,000 except for high crime rate areas such as Stockton. And they've got a break, they went even lower. And justified in doing it. So, the 10 officers were entitled to 3.7 officers or 4. We got 10? Somebody tell me why. This really isn't a high crime rate area, folks. I'd be happy to debate any one of you on it. The most expensive position in the city, county, state government, whatever, is a police officer. Their salaries, the benefits, and the equipment necessary for them to perform their job makes it the most expensive. Anybody ever heard of Vallejo? They went bankrupt because of the police department and fire department. I think the fire department was just a contributory factor, but not a big deal. We elected the city council here to look after our interests, not Mr. Shearer's. You need to look at his requests he's making to you guys and analyze it and debate it and figure out what's going on. You can't just approve it. I mean, I don't know why in the world 10 officers are needed in Angels Camp. I really don't know. And we can control it. We can cure all these ills, wipe them away. We can disincorporate the city of Angels Camp. It takes 20% of the voters inside the city limits to do this. I don't think that'd take 3 days to get. Everybody is outrageous with the rates on this thing. Once the petition has met its requirements, it's turned over to the city council, who must recognize it. Then it goes to an election, and the majority wins. And if we win this thing, the city of Angels Camp is no longer a city. It's no longer an incorporated city. We can auction off all city property, all the vehicles, all the tools, equipment. That'll give us one heck of a reserve. And believe me, I've talked to a lot of citizens out there, they're ready to do it. So you need to really think about this. When is your next council meeting?
First week in January.
I'll be back then, and I'll like to hear an answer from you on the water rates and the sewer rates and the reduction of the rates that are in right now. Not just my bill, which is obviously an error, but what are you going to do to reduce them, not add to them? We can't take any more. Absolutely can't take any more in this little city. Somebody's got to do something. So, you work for us. Mr. Shearer works for you. It's not the other way around. You don't work for him. So when he gives you something, talk about it, debate it, and come up with an answer other than say, okay. Okay won't work anymore. No more. Please understand me and believe me. Thank you very much.
Anyone else wish to make a public comment? Or state your name and address.
You've done a very good job.
Pardon me?
You've done a very good job.
Thank you. It's about time somebody did something.
My name is Dorothy Cushero. I live at 117 Dogtown Road in Angels Camp. And I showed up here this evening without my attorney. He got stuck out of town. And he asked me to see if we could extend what we need to talk about on January 6th meeting without my water being shut off. It's got to do with some nuisance fees, I believe. And the fees have been put on my water bill, and the city has threatened to shut my water off.
Fees that were put on, the extra fees put on there were put on there because I don't know.
I can say a little bit, but actually Owen's better at this. It isn't like before. This was an appeal, a citation that she received before, and it got to a certain point that she missed her appeal time, and so had come into the office asking what she could do about it, and I suggested she come here and sort of talk to you guys to see what her options were, but what she's told me is she did have an attorney to come with her. He got stuck out of town, so she would like to come back in the January public comments with her attorney to plead her case, more or less, I think. Is that right?
Yes.
Without her water will be shut off. She's been will be reviewed, something like that, but she has missed the appeal time several times, and she was cited several times for a nuisance, and we applied the nuisance charge to her water bill, and so instead, she would like to make sure her water's not turned off until she can
I
discuss
pay
this.
my
with
water
her.
bill every month, and this is an extra expense that I don't have income for, number one. And, so anyway, I would like it to be kept on until January 6th at least, where we can talk this over with an attorney.
I'd recommend that the attorney make contact with the city clerk to agendize the matter, and that be done for the
Okay.
We won't turn the water off until the attorney can represent you.
Okay. Okay, thank
And it'll
you.
be agendized for the January,
6th.
yes,
Okay, thank you.
yes, please.
Would you want Owen to show the same slideshow presentation at that time that you saw before?
Which slide?
The one on before. Yeah, the one on this one, when you already put the resume.
Sure. The information that we
Okay, we'll bring back the same slideshow.
Anyone else like to make a public comment? Step forward, state your name and address, please.
It's gonna be a long night. Craig Turkways again. As an interested person, I'd like to have consent agenda item C, Police Officers Association Memorandum of Understanding, be moved to the regular agenda for explanation, clarification, and possible discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to make a public comment? Please step forward, state your name and address. No one? Okay, public comment closed. We'll move on to the consent agenda, and it will be the minutes of the workshop December 2nd, 2008, minutes of the regular meeting December 2nd, 2008, and C has been removed, and motion to pay the bill. So moved. I have a motion by Councilman Seaton and a second by Councilman Rangel to approve the consent agenda, minutes of the workshop December 2nd, 2008, minutes of the regular meeting December 2nd, 2008, and a motion to pay the bills. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Carries 5-0. We'll move on to we'll move on to C, which is approval of the POA MOU Resolution 08-43. And we've taken that off the consent agenda for discussion. Anyone in the public who should make a comment, please step forward and make your comment.
Again, Craig Turkways Camp. The intent of the move from the consent agenda to the regular agenda is to get an explanation of exactly what it is and possible discussion, because I don't understand what that, I mean, I understand what a memorandum of understanding is, but I don't know what this particular relates to or what's it all about. So what I'm looking for is for city staff to explain what that particular resolution is that you would be voting on.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
Anyone else wish to make a public comment? Then we'll have Scott probably explain it.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Scott Kinley. I was requested by Tim to negotiate the contract. The MOU before you, the memorandum, is actually a successor agreement to a memorandum of understanding that expired June 30th of 2008. We've been in negotiations, working back and forth. It's a 3-year contract that extends the wages, working conditions, and benefits for the police officers represented by the POA, Police Officers Association. I don't know if there was more you wanted me to explain, but basically it's a labor contract between the city and the labor group that's representing the Police Officers Association.
Any comments up here? Any more information you need?
You want me to address it up there? Can I address it from here?
Sure.
I just wanted to know, I mean, I understand what the contracts are all about, but is it an increase? I mean, I'm not familiar with the old contract. Is there an increase? Is there an increase of police officers? Is the benefits package been changed significantly? I think if it's going to impact the public, that they have a right to know what that impact's going to be. You will obviously vote on it, but I'd like to know what kind of economic impact it has to the city.
The basic salary increases are, I believe, 21% over a 3-year package. It's consistent in the police officers and the other areas where I do contract negotiations. There were some minor changes to incentive pays. You typically do not negotiate numbers of personnel in the labor contract. That's management right to set the service level by the city manager. So the biggest issue is the continued salary and salary increases, which amount to 21% over 3 years.
Okay, any other comment? Any comments up here? Then
I'll make the motion to approve the MOU with the Police Officers Association.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Councilman Seaton and a second by Councilman Bodine to approve the POA MOU Resolution 0843. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstained? Passes 3-0. 3-2, excuse me. Move on to number 2, which is a public hearing, branding development action plan, branding development action plan prepared by Designation Development Incorporated, and the B part is through the grantee performance report, assign signature authority to the city administrator, and authorize commission and report to the state. Terry Cox, good evening.
Good evening, Terry Cox. Sounds like you can hear me because I can hear myself coming back this time. Okay, I'd like to preface my comments by saying that written comments regarding the city's community development block grant program can be addressed to City Hall. And I do have a sign-in sheet for anybody that's attending the public hearing. Now, I wanted to mention that we actually have a public hearing on the 2 items, which are both the branding study and the facade grant. So I guess we'll take public comments on the 1 item and then have the council action on that, and then open the public hearing on the 2nd item after that. Okay, so the first one is the city's 2006 Economic Development Technical Assistance Community Development Block Grant, which was for the branding study that came to the council, I think, in October. And this is sort of the formal wrap-up on that grant. We do have a report there for you, and it's just the standard final report that you get on a community development block grant. I did go back and double-check the number on the population, and I have to talk to the police gentleman earlier about where he got his population number, because I was looking for a current one for 2007 on Angels and wasn't able to.
On the internet.
Well, right, but we're on the internet. So anyway, I used the one that was in the city's housing element, which is 2005. So the number that will be in the final report is like 35, 37.
Can the people in the back hear her?
No.
Yeah,
Yeah. The ones all the way in the back can hear.
no, we can hear it real well.
Then I'm so tall.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about this.
Can we turn the volume up?
We're referring to number 2 right now, right?
Right.
And then we'll open up the public comment. Any questions up here? On number 2, Dave?
We're approving the report that we actually got something for sustainable funds.
Correct.
Federal funds, this is the report. This is the version report, and it's being used by the branding leadership team as it works through the communities, the business community and the stakeholders' efforts to improve the economy of our town.
Are you moving that?
I have to have the hearing.
Okay, we'll open up the public hearing. Anyone wishing to make a comment on approval of the branding development and action plan prepared by Designation Development Incorporated, please step forward and state your name and address.
I'm Dixon Collins at 259 Leaf Court in Angels Camp. I'm on the branding committee, and I can only say that we've been using this now for the last 3 months, and it's proven to be very effective, and the committees have been doing some really good work, and we're getting quite a nice response from the community and also the outlying areas. So I'm very much in support of you approving this and going forward. This has been very supportive for us, and I think that what it's going to end up doing is bringing a lot of business into the city.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to make a comment? Please step forward and state your name and address. Anyone else? Sure.
I'm Kathy Collins at 259 Leaf Court in Angels Camp, and I'm also on the branding leadership team, and would ask that you go ahead and approve it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to make a public comment? Okay, we're going to close the public comment. This is on the A part. And bring it back up here for discussion and approval.
I'll move the approval of the branding leadership, the branding, community branding development and marketing.
I'd second that.
I have a motion by Councilman Seaton and a second by Councilman Lynch to approve the branding development and action plan prepared by Destination Development Incorporated. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Carries 5-0. We'll move on to the B part, which is approve the grantee performance report, assign signature authority to the city administrator, and authorize submission of the report to the state. We'll open this up to public comment. Anyone wish to make any public comment on this? Step forward, state your name and address. Okay, public comment closed. We'll bring it back up here for discussion and approval.
I'll move the adoption of the grantee performance report and authorization of the city administrator to sign and submit to the appropriate reporting authority.
Second.
Before we vote, I have some questions and technical. It says facade program, but when you look at the numbers, it says $140,000 for lighting and the staircase, which I'm in favor of, and sidewalks, and we get up to numbers that I I don't really see the connection between some of those improvements and facades.
Actually, we haven't gotten to that yet.
Pardon?
We haven't gotten to that part yet.
Well, it says facade improvement, $280,000.
We're about to get to it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, that's, I'm sorry.
I'll decode
I'll
that.
withdraw my comments. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Get straightened out.
All right.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Seaton and a second by Councilman Bodine to approve the grantee performance report, assigned signature authority to city administrator, and authorize submission of the report to the state. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Carries 5-0. Move on to number 3, which is approve resolution 0842, a resolution approving the application for funding and execution of a grant agreement from the general allocation of the state CDBG program, and authorizing the city administrator to sign the agreement and any subsequent amendment. Terry.
Yeah, now we'll get to the facade grant. And the council will remember that a little over a month ago, we came to you with this new opportunity in the Community Development Block Grant Program. It's part of the economic development component of that grant program. They haven't done facades before. This is the first time. So the maximum grant amount that the city could apply for is $300,000, which is what we've requested. And as the match to that, let me break that down for you. The portion that is in the public works, which is I think 190 total, this is all budgeted activities that the city already has on the books for the next year or so. Part of that is money that's for lighting that I think the city's already paid. It's like $140,000 that we get to count as part of this. There's also the staircase that goes from Main Street back to the parking lot, and I think that's about $40,000. So there's also the city has like $12,500 that's part of the plaques, and I haven't got my calculator in front of me, but as you can see, it adds up substantially. And then there's a certain amount of staff work that will also go into working with the business owners to develop the scope of work for the specific businesses that will be all collected in one construction contract and overseen by the city. So it actually looks like a nice big number, and that will help in the competition for the grant funds, which I expect to be fairly intense because it's a statewide competition. Now, the program you can see on the second page of your handout. We have a short summary. This program is specifically targeted to what they call micro enterprises, which is businesses that have 5 or fewer employees, including the owner. Now, most of the businesses downtown do fall into that category. I think there's only 1 or 2 that don't. Eligible activities are exterior improvements to the facades, so basically anything you can do to the building itself. Things like landscaping, sidewalks, walkways, and any interior improvements are not eligible. The grant amount per building can be up to $30,000. It does need to be matched by 10% from the business owner. Those are the big highlights on that. The business owners do have to be in what they call the targeted income group, which is below 80% of county median income according to the household size. So I'm happy to answer any other questions you have about that.
Terry, they have to apply to the city for this grant, or how do they go about that?
Yeah, actually, we do have an application process drafted up, and they would apply to the city. There would be a committee that would review the applications. We do sort of the preliminary information, make sure that they are micro enterprise as according to the state's definition, make sure that they meet the income eligibility, and then from there, they would start working with an architect to develop the scope of work for their building, and then that would go to the city review committee.
How much total funds is available for that?
Well, the total grant is $300,000.
I mean, for the grant thing.
Well, it'd be in the neighborhood of $260,000, $280,000.
Other questions?
So, yeah, Terry, then, the facade improvement program of $280,000 is separate and distinct from all of the other city contributions. And that is in there primarily to show that this is part and parcel of another program already underway by the city that would be improved lighting. This would be the historic district lighting. It would be the improvement of public access along Raspberry to the parking lot. New commemorative placards in the street, administrative stuff. So that this would show, I total up something like $218,000 to $220,000 of city funds going into this same program. Is that?
That's correct.
Okay,
And like
I was confused then as
Yeah.
to what the amount was with all these other items in here.
Right.
And that's, you're saying that's needed in this particular case to show a total program.
Yeah, part of the competition on this is how much money is leveraged from other sources.
Okay.
So we wanted to get credit for all of the things that you were doing, and it also shows that you have a more comprehensive plan.
Okay. And I total up something like, when you add the 50,000 from program reuse, I get a number like $270,000. Is that the kind of number you have?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That explains, I understand it now.
Okay.
Any comment? This program, we might anticipate that the process that we use for the housing rehabilitation and first-time home buyers would be a similar public committee that, public process that the committee would review applicants, confirm eligibility, and potentially make decisions regarding which projects would be the best use of the money available, the $300,000. That would be money coming to the town that would be spent on by local businesses in terms of improving the external appearance and presumably attractiveness, invitingness to grow those businesses' success. So this is both a kind of a stimulus package, a popular term these days, but also it's an investment in those businesses being viable, especially in this kind of tough economic time. But it's a program that immediately brings about $300,000 of potential work into the town, assuming we can compete successfully with the grant.
Right. And it will also help you further implement your branding study. And I did want to mention that we just heard last week that sort of the second phase of that work that the city had submitted an application for earlier this fall. We did just get the notification that that was funded. So that will pay another $35,000 towards the design work that can go into the signage, can go into the facade grants, as well as another portion that's about attracting businesses to the downtown. So, we hope to be able to get started on that work very shortly and have a lot of that in place by the time the facade grant would begin if we're successful.
Okay, I just have a couple comments. I think it works hand in hand with the branding program. It shows the cooperation between the city as to the business community. And the other thing I think that scares, it would scare all these people out here, all these figures, 200,000 here and 100,000 there. It's in-kind and reuse funds. If you would elaborate a little bit on the reuse funds that's coming back, and it's not coming out of my general fund. Could you explain that a little bit more?
Right, the reuse funds are repayments from old housing rehabilitation loans that were made under the Community Development Block Grant a long time ago.
I have another question based on what I just heard. If you look under the micro enterprises definition, business with 5 or fewer employees, including the owner, and the owner must be in the targeted income group, and then you've attached, public doesn't necessarily see this, but you attach numbers here, whereas the household size of an owner, let's say 2 persons, it would be something like $40,000. So that would mean the owner of the building would have to have income less than $40,000. I just wonder whether that in fact matches up with a person that's owning a building and running a business in that building. I think that's kind of restrictive, and I just wonder if you surveyed and see how many potential eligible people would be fitting this kind of a severe guideline. Have you any comment on that?
A couple of clarifications on that. I have a couple of clarifications on that. One, it's the business owner rather than the building owner if they are not the same. So a building owner's income has no bearing on this at all for a property that they rent. Now, for the businesses themselves, it's not their gross income. So, once the accountants are done with it, most self-employed people's income is substantially less in terms of their net. So, so you wind up with more eligible business as a result.
Okay, well then I'd suggest that the word business owner be there rather than the owner, because I was reading that as the owner of the facility. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the owner of the facility would be wanting to have control over a facade change on the building that they're owning. And so, how is that all resolved?
Well, we do have guidelines that kind of spell this out. The building owner, if they rent the building, must give a written authorization to do the work, hold harmless for the city, and there also has to be some provision in place, like a lease, so that once the renovation is done, they don't go, oh great, I'll raise the rent, get somebody else in here. So there are requirements on the state part that you not wind up relocating a business, displacing one. And so there's a provision in your guidelines that says that the property will need to have a lease or something to that effect for a year after they apply.
But those guidelines are not included here.
They're in your application that I think was available at City Hall, yeah.
They're what?
That was at City Hall.
I don't see them. Is staff satisfied that it's the business owner and not the building owner, and there's a procedure? I know other cities, particularly Sonora, has done this with success, but
Actually, this is the first time that anybody has done this particular program. This is brand new, and all of those requirements are being imposed by the state, so we don't have any ability to modify those. So it is definitely the business owner. And also, one other facet to this that I wanted to bring to light that is integrated into this, but I think kind of a little bit above and beyond. For a long time, I've had number of council members that have been asking me about what can we do to help businesses, and so this opportunity was just, I mean, as Terry has mentioned before, that this was the first time ever that we've gotten something like this from the state where they actually have these kinds of grant funds. So jumping on that, one of the things that we also, when we met with the property owners downtown, and there was a number of them that were surveyed, they were excited about it, they felt they would comply, or they would be able to meet the terms of these conditions and signed up for it as potential users of this, you know, to be determined later, but that we built our list. There was a few that would not necessarily comply, or not comply, but be able to meet the terms that's set by the state, such as the income, that type of thing. But since this will be one project, and it'll be let as one project, there'll be one contractor to do all of the work, and it has to go through an approval process through the city, a permitting process, and so forth. And also, the branding leadership team is very involved in this, in that the implementation of the branding and this follow-on signage and logos and things like that will all be part of this package. There's a number of business owners that will be able to take advantage of this and go through the process, even though they can't get the facade money. They'll actually be part of the overall package and have the benefits of going through that planning commission, the historian, the environmental aspects and all those kinds of things at no additional cost to them, be able to do the improvements, and then that way we can have basically a facelift for the entire downtown, and do that in one fatal swoop. So it's kind of an added benefit that we have for even property owners that don't necessarily comply, able to meet the requirements of this, the state's criteria.
Comment? Public comment? Would you make a public comment?
I'm Dixon Collins, 259 Leaf Court, and I'm on the branding leadership team. And I want to compliment Councilman Seaton. Your description of the program and its benefits to the town is excellent, and it's right on target. And we, in dealing with all the people downtown, it seems like they've gotten really excited about this program. Excuse me. It came right out of left field. It's an amazing opportunity that Terry found for us, and I just want to encourage you to think about it really carefully, because this gets us started awfully well on this brand leadership thing. What a kickoff for us. It's great. So I want to encourage you to vote for it and seriously consider it. And if we can help you in any way, this is a real good example of how we're working in the private sector and in the city. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to make a comment?
Kathy Collins, 259 Leaf Court. I'm the chairman of the product group of the branding leadership team, and this is just really supportive of what we're going to be wanting to do in terms of improving our product, the look of our product in downtown Angels Camp. So I really hope that you'll approve moving forward with this.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to make a comment? Okay, we'll bring it back up here. Discussion and approval.
I'd like to move resolution 08-42, resolution of the City Council of Angels approving an application for funding and execution of a grant agreement from the general allocation of the state CDBG program.
I'll second the motion.
And authorizing, I guess we have to say, and authorizing city administrator to sign the agreement and subsequent amendments at that.
I have a motion by Councilman Lynch and a second by Councilman Seaton to approve Resolution 08-42, a resolution approving the application for funding and execution of a grant agreement from the general allocation of the state CDBG program and authorizing the city administrator to sign the agreement and any subsequent amendments. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Move on to number 4. Approve the closure of the alleyway off of Pacific Street as recommended by the Safety Services Committee. All
Mr. Mayor, with the letter that we received this evening, I see postpone that until the first meeting in January. It's been there for 100 years. Another 2 weeks ain't gonna hurt them.
Move that we continue on.
Very good. Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Seaton, a second by Councilman Radjo to postpone approval of the closure of the alleyway off of Pacific Street as recommended by the Safety Service Committee until the next meeting is the first week of January. I believe it's January 6th.
I think they're asking for mid-January, so it'll probably be the second meeting. In the letter it says mid-January.
It'll have to put on the first meeting and then continue on to the second meeting.
That's why I said just continue.
Okay.
And then you take whatever you agendize, you pick it up.
All right. Any comments? Any other comment? Okay. I have a motion by Seaton and a second by Radjo. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Carries 5-0 to postpone that. Move on to number 5. Approval, approve the purchase of a stamp mill for the museum, and B part, approve a budget amendment for the stamp mill cost of $4,000. We'll turn it over to the Museum Commission, Mr. Pettihoff. Good evening.
Mr. Mayor and council members, I want to just give a real quick commercial about our museum and review what our guiding principles are. And that is, the commission is dedicated first and foremost to remembering the pioneering men and women who created the rich and dynamic history and legacy of Angels Camp and the surrounding Mother Lode communities. And with that in mind, we have come across a 5-stamp mill that's located just south of the city. The stamp mill is located just south of the city at the site of the old relief quartz mine. It was patented in 1907 and originally owned by Harry Hargrove. It's a medium-sized stamp mill and currently owned by descendants of the Hogarth family, his 3 great-grandchildren. I might add that this is not the stamp mill, but this is very similar to the one that we're looking at. Anyway, the descendants of Mr. Hargrove, Don Fletcher, Wilbur Everhart, and Richard Sierra are all living in this area. They have agreed to sell this mill to the city for the sum of $6,000 to be used as a permanent exhibit at the Angels Camp Museum. The mill is in relatively good condition, however, some of the wooden parts are badly deteriorated but are replaceable. Keith Talia, considered by the state of California to be an authority on California stamp mills, has appraised the mill at a value from $5,500 to $6,500, standing where it is. There has been some question as to the ownership of the mill, however. This has been resolved, and in your packet is a letter from the BLM addressing ownership, declaring the claimant's right to sell. I also am passing on to you a copy of an email I received from the BLM that is authorizing us to enter their property and remove the mill. Let me find this. I just got this recently, that's why you don't have a copy of it. But anyway, they've approved and authorized us to go ahead and make the move. Tentative plans are to move the mill and erect it in the lower area of the museum, just below the water wheel, and in such a manner that should a motor or other power source become available, it could be operated during special events. Cost to move the mill from its present location and to erect it at the museum has been estimated to cost an additional $6,000. Therefore, the Museum Commission is respectfully requesting a budget amendment to reflect the total cost to purchase and erect the mill for the amount of $12,000. You should have in your pocket a bill of sales that is signed, the approval from the BLM, and the email that I passed out. So that's, are there any questions?
I might add that I know where this old thing sits. It's been there for 70 years that I know of. At one time, the City of Angels, there was those things pounded at Utica and all the big mines in town. They pounded all day and all night. And I feel that that would be a definite asset to the museum in Angel Camp. That's a 5-stamp mill, and if they set that up where they want to, it'd be really something that people would come to enjoy. So I think it's a bargain from the people that own it. The people at the 1907 ownership of that mine was the Hobart family. And those were the descendants of it. I know all three of them. I think we got it at a premium price, believe me. I think if other cities had a chance to get a hold of it, they'd grab it. End of speech.
Well, I just wanted to reiterate, I think it's a very valuable addition. One of the things that makes Angels Camp distinctive is we were a hard rock mining site, and the stamping mills played an absolutely essential role in the extraction process. So this, as we try to educate young people and visitors about the nature of our community and the foundation of our legacy, this is, to my mind, a very important part of telling that story. So the fact that it could be brought into working condition, I don't know, the price of gold, you never know, we may be reopening. So I think it's a great addition, and I appreciate the work of the museum in moving forward to bring this into public visibility.
I'd like to add a couple of comments, if I may, about some other stamp mills that are in the area. There's one in Tuolumne County, and the Tuolumne County Historical Society has been negotiating with the BLM for over a year, trying to get ownership of that. And unfortunately, last summer, a fire came through, burned it up, and all left with some steel. And over on the other end of our county, there's another stamp mill, and somebody went in and tried to steal it and destroyed it. The BLM is very anxious to see this project move forward. I might add that they reacted within 24 hours to come down here when they found what we wanted to do, and they're very well supportive of what we're asking for here.
Comments? Any public comment?
You know, I make one other comment. I gotta go along with Bob here. The sooner we move on this, the better off, because once it's made public, they'll be out there trying to rip that one off.
public comment? We do have public comment. Do you?
Steve Fly, 501 Rosebush in Angels Camp, and I'm also chairman of the Angels Camp Museum Foundation. And I would just like to support the commission's effort in...
Can everybody hear him?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to force it. Okay. So we just support the commission's effort in procuring the stamp mill and hopes the council votes to purchase it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to make a comment? We'll bring back up here.
I move that, we approve the purchase of the stamp mill for the museum. You got the two motions, or you going to take, huh?
I was assuming
I'll second that one.
it would be I have a motion by Councilman Raggio and a second by Councilman Lynch to approve the purchase of a stamp mill for the museum. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Carries 5-0. We'll move on to the B part, approve a budget amendment to the stamp mill of costing of $12,000.
I'll move the adoption of the budget adjustment.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Seaton and a second by Councilman Raggio to approve a budget amendment for the stamp mill cost of $12,000. Any questions?
Yes, that's for the moving and the purchase.
Yes. And the restoration.
Well, I don't know
No,
about
the
that.
moving and the purchase.
Moving and the purchase. Nothing to do with the restoration.
No,
Well, that, we're going to take some time to do that.
we look to get some volunteer labor on that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Carries 5-0. We're moving on to number 6, which is approval of donation of Cornerstone with description, Calaveras County Jail 1852, Calaveras County Historical Society. Bob?
Yes, thank you, and thank you for passing the two previous motions. The museum that will be hosting the Calaveras County Historical Society for their monthly meeting will be doing that in January. And in your packet, there should be a picture of an old cornerstone. We've had at the museum for a number of years. It's hand chiseled onto it. It says Calaveras County Jail, 1852. And there's no record of that. It's not on any inventory. And it really, we don't feel it's fitting for our museum, but we thought a better place for it might be at the county jail in San Andreas. And I'd like the authorization to make this donation to the Historical Society at their meeting at the museum in January.
Comments?
Well, how long do you think the city's had that? How long have we had that?
Nobody knows.
My next question, where'd it come from?
Nobody knows.
Go ahead.
San Andreas wasn't the county seat.
Not in 1952, or 1852, no.
Well, it was mentioned that the Angels was put together in 1912, and all those sewer lines used to run with just an organ piece of mining pipe to the creek, open pipes. So the infrastructure is what we did. It cost us a lot of money. Go ahead.
I'm finished.
Comments?
I think just one comment. In committee, we did recognize that this was, there was some timeliness to making this, this would be, I mean, potentially this could become displayed in the new jail and could kind of link the new and the old in a meaningful way. The disacquisition is a fancy name for getting rid of museum assets, but we suggested that the commission look at establishing a deacquisition policy so that it would have a formal process to deal with either surplus or artifacts that might have a better use somewhere else. So that I support this as I think a good thing, but I would ask that not be dropped by the commission. They formalize that procedure and make sure that there is an orderly process that ensures that anything that is deacquisition be appropriately dealt, approved.
Do they I've got a question. Bob, have you spoken to the staff at the County Historical Society?
I haven't, I've talked to two people there. I haven't really wanted to go run over and offer it to them and find out if they're interested until I really knew what the position of the city council would be. But I've got an indication that they would like to have it.
You remember when they were interested in our taking possession of the school, they approached us and said, would the council be willing to accept it if offered? And I think you need to make sure that they're willing to accept it. I don't see why not, but I think going through that process is important.
I feel very confident that I can go ahead and do that if I get your approval here tonight, and we'll do that. We'll do that.
Mine was along the same as Jack said. The cooperation between the Historical Society at the county level and the City of Angels Museum in regards to that old schoolhouse was very beneficial to the city, I feel. And we in turn now are going to give them back a stone. How it got here, I don't know. But give it back to us. So I think it creates a bond between the two.
Any further comment? Okay,
I make a motion that we approve the donation of the cornerstone of the inscription Calaveras County Jail, 1852, Calaveras County Historical.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Bodine and a second by Councilman Radjo to approve the donation of cornerstone to the inscription Calaveras County Jail, 1852, to the Calaveras County Historical Society. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Carries 5-0. Move on to numbers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Move on to number 7, which is oh, before that, we're doing that. I would just understood that. We're gonna make we're gonna remove the agenda. We're gonna take number 13 and number 14 and insert it into 26 and 7. Yeah, 13 and 14.
Incorporate into 7.
No, it's going to be before 7.
Okay,
It'll be
I
now.
got you. Okay. 13.
Items. You guys on the same page?
Yes, I got you.
Yes. Items 13 and 14. Item is a hearing to determine if the city council wishes to adopt 2 resolutions of necessity to acquire certain property from Robert and Catherine Diebold, a portion of accessory parcel numbers 057-023-010 and 062-001-039, and Mark and Wendy Jones, a portion of accessory parcel number 062-001-014. We are tape recording this item. For that reason, it's very important that only one person speak at a time, as the recorder can only take the comments of one person at a time. Any exhibits attached to the staff report and any other presented during the hearing will become part of the record. The issue before the city council is whether the City of Angels Camp should acquire by eminent domain the property necessary to replace a Murphy's grade water line. Prior to today's meeting, the property in question has been appraised, and the property owners have been offered the appraised amount of the property. The property owners have not accepted that offer. The city council will not be considering today the amount of money to be paid to the property owner. That is not before the city council today. If the city council decides to proceed with eminent domain, then the price of the property will be determined by the Calaveras County Superior Court. If the city council proceeds with eminent domain, it does not mean, however, that the city council and the property owners cannot agree on a price for the property before the court sets the price. We will proceed as follows. We will hear an oral presentation from the staff. It is my understanding the presentation will include comments from Gary Gio, the city engineer, and Richard Matranga, the city attorney. 2, after the staff report, members of the city council may address questions to staff. Number 3, following questions from the city council, the property owners or their representatives may address the city council. If the property owners have any questions for staff, they should be directed to staff through me. Therefore, although this is not a public hearing in the formal sense, any member of the public may comment on this item after comments from the property owner. Number 5, any member of the city council may then ask staff any follow-up questions. After final questions from the city council, I will close the hearing and ask the city council to determine if it wishes to adopt the resolutions of necessity. We will now open up the hearing and hear from the staff first, and then we'll go through the process. So assuming we're going to hear from
I'll start off, Mr. Mayor.
Richard.
Mary, did you receive confirmation that both the parties involved had gotten notice of this hearing?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And have you received any written request to appear from either party?
No.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to ask that the city engineer just give the council and the public a brief description of what the project is requiring, or at least requesting, I should say, your action to adopt this resolution of necessity.
Yes, the project involves replacement of what is called the Murphy's Grade Road water line, which is essentially the main 12-inch line that feeds the entire city. And as you may recall, a portion of this was replaced last summer under an emergency act because it was in such bad shape it was running a major leak. So these two properties are part of the portion that remains to be replaced. And we have been talking to property owners for, it's going on 2-3 years now, and we have not been able to come to a resolution requiring these easements, so that is why it's before you tonight.
Mayor, I mentioned that the vote required on part of the council is a 2/3 vote.
Okay, we'll have a roll call. Okay, so now we hear from, we already heard from you, Richard? Did you guys?
You pretty much have it.
Any comments from the council to the staff at this time?
I have a question, Gary. Is this, how wide is this easement?
The permanent easement that is required on both these properties is 10 foot wide. There was also a 40-foot temporary construction easement that is required to do the construction, but it goes away as soon as construction is over.
It just goes away?
Yes, it goes away.
Is
The
this
permanent
gonna
easement
hamper-
will be 10 feet.
Is this going to hamper the property owner's use of this property in any way once you're done with it?
Well, on the 10-foot easement, of course, you can't build any permanent structures or anything. That's typical easement.
Any other questions? What's the, Gary, what's the width of the water easement right away from Finnegan Lane across to Centennial? How wide is that water easement? Do you remember?
20 feet.
That's 20 feet
That's
wide?
20 foot wide. That is the city standard.
20 foot wide is the city standard?
Yes.
And we are recommending to put in when we're all done with our project, to have a 10-foot wide easement?
There is already, on the Jones property, there is already an existing 10-foot wide easement where the existing water line is. The additional 10 feet will give us the 20-foot standard city width. On the Dybel property, there is a 50-foot PG&E or UPA easement adjacent to it that has the penstock running offset in it, then an existing city water line, then the new proposed water line. The 10-foot that we are requesting would be outside of that existing 50 feet. And it's shown on the exhibits that we
Any other comments up here? Okay, then we'll hear from property owner or owners at this time.
Thank you. My name is Bob Diebold, 691 Purdy Road, Ames Camp. this project, the city contacted my wife and I not quite 2 years ago. Since that time, we have conformed to every requirement. They've asked for written correspondence for meetings. We've done everything to cooperate with them. Their initial, with each person that I talked to, as a matter of fact, basically stated that they're going to put a 10-foot easement through my property, whether we reach an agreement or not. They hope that they can. That's kind of as far as I open discussion. There were 5 points on the agenda that I received. I don't know if you want to cover those in any particular order, or you want me to just go ahead with my information?
Go ahead and tell us what you wish to tell us.
Okay. First thing that was written on the agenda is the public, that you need to resolve tonight, the public interest and necessity to require this proposed project. I have no problem with the city putting in a new water main. The second thing is the proposed project is planned and will be located in a manner that will be most compatible with the greatest public good and the least private injury. I disagree with the least private injury. I don't want it on my land, regardless of what my reasons are, and the city has alternatives, which I will get into. Which is the next thing, the property is necessary for the project. First off, my property is zoned R3, and the city wants to take a portion of the buildable part of my land. Part of my land is in a flood zone, which has obviously lesser value, and they're basing the value that they've come up with based upon the total value of all of my property divided by the number of square feet that they want, and the part they want is clearly more valuable than the overall average of my property. My property borders Mr. Roleri's property where he has his bulls out here. There's a 50-foot easement, which I already mentioned. 15 feet of it is on my side of the property line, and then on the property line approximately is the penstock line. On the other side of that is 35-foot easement, which the city probably already has rights to, but it is not being used for anything. So my contention is, also on my side of the property line, within 10 feet of the penstock, is the present city water main, which was not on my easement, on my title when I purchased the land. I discovered it later. There is no reason that I can see that this new water main cannot be put on the other side of the pipeline, on the other side of the property line, where they have 35 feet that's not being used. The city clearly has a working relationship with Utica. Anyway, I think that that's what they should do. The only reason that I've been given that it cannot be put over there is Mr. Gio says they don't want to disrupt the integrity of the old penstock line. There are spots within the penstock line where it is above ground. It's held up by cement piers. I'm guessing 50 to 100 feet from pier to pier. Plenty of room underneath to dig a 18 to 30 inch pipeline. Would have no bearing that I can see, and I think an engineer would approve it also, that would not bother the integrity of that pipeline. Secondly, I look out my window and I'm watching the new bypass being built. Every day during the summer months, I watch 50 to 100 vehicles go over that pipeline, 80-ton cranes, water trucks, cement trucks, earth movers, back and forth all day long over that pipeline. I don't know why 18-inch or 12-inch water line underneath that pipeline would hurt anything. So my contention is you don't need to have it on my land. I don't want it on my land. I'm willing to reach an agreement with the city, but their offer really has not been sufficient. I didn't know that you didn't want to discuss the values tonight. So I don't know if you want to get into that. I can give you a written copy of what, if you want to review it.
No, this is just exactly what's on the agenda.
Okay. I asked Mr. Gio, when they first started construction on the pipeline, of the new water main, which they started on Roleri's property just at the edge of mine, and they came in with a large crane and started from that point working up toward the grade road. When they started, they dug on both sides of the Utica pipeline. It appeared to me that there was already preparation putting a T on that line that would run east and west at some future point. I asked Mr. Gio specifically the question. He did not give me a direct answer. Mr. Gio, city engineer, should know every inch of thread going in them pipelines the whole way. I mean, I deserve an honest answer. The city has also offered me an appraisal. I have 8.85 acres. The appraisal the city gave me is for 7.31 acres. It's all one parcel, it happens to be on 2 county parcel maps. At the time that was done, I believe it was last June, I requested an updated copy of it. Maybe it will make a difference in the values, I don't know, but the appraisal itself is expensive, probably about $5,000, and it would be of some value to me if I decide to pass this property on to my children and work out some arrangement with them. There is also the issue that there's insurance and taxes due on this land from now until eternity. As long as the city has a water line in there, I think the city needs to be responsible for that. I'm willing to work a concession with it with some discounted rate, 1 month a year credit on the base water and sewer rate or something to compensate for the annual price, which was probably about $100 a year for that. As far as the insurance is concerned, there's really been nobody on my land that's going to fall and hurt themselves other than my family members. There's no outsiders really allowed in there. Utica comes in once in a while, city engineers come in once in a while. There are children walking that pipeline all the time in the summer. If they fall and they hit a T-bar, somebody's going to be hurt, and I'm going to be named in a lawsuit. And to me, it's the city's responsibility, or Utica's responsibility, and Utica and the city are together on that. So I think some compensation for insurance is definitely necessary there. What else? My neighbor and I have a neighbor who's involved in this also, and he mentioned to me tonight before I came over here that if we do work something out and the water main goes in, can we get a fire hydrant out there? We're probably within some legal distance down Purdy Road to a fire hydrant, but it would obviously, since you're putting in a water main, how much more would it cost to put in a fire hydrant? I think that's something that should be also considered. If you wish, I have a breakdown of what I think is a fair value. If you want to take it in your own sessions and discuss it, fine. If not, I think this could have been resolved before all this. The city didn't respond. I mean, the people that I was dealing with did not respond as far as getting back to me with the new appraisals and things of that nature. So I guess that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any other property owner that would make a comment on this? Any comments from the public? No comments from the public? Questions? Richard?
Mr. Mayor, I would ask the city engineer to just discuss briefly with you the requirement that the public interest and necessity require this project. Number one, and number two, that it's planned and located in the manner that will be most compatible with the greatest public good and the least private injury. It's important to note that there are several parcels involved, not just Mr. Diebold's.
The first item is the public interest and necessity of the proposed project. As discussed, it is the main line feeding the city, which is in very bad shape. So it is, I think the necessity is being well documented, especially with the emergency we just went through. The issue of location, as Richard stated, we are dealing with property owners on both sides of this. The existing line runs through this area on the side of the penstock toward their properties, which already has all the meters and everything on that side. To put it on the other side simply shifts the burden on a different piece of property, in this case of Larry's. And this discussion came up with his neighbor also for one on the other side, who subsequently agreed to the easement. So we have easements on both sides of this now to run the line straight through there. And in addition, I talked to Vern at the UPA. They did not want me going anywhere near that penstock. And it's not just a matter of going under it once, we'd have to go under it multiple times to get over and back, also the services going under it. So it's the best design we could come up with to accommodate the properties all along the line and also make sure we can damage the fence.
Okay. Any other comments from the council? Any questions you have with that? Any comments?
I have a question relative to, I guess, probably to Rich, based on the guidance that you gave. My understanding is that if we pass the resolutions, this does not preclude continued discussions between the property owner and the city relative to any of the items addressed tonight. Is that true?
Section 4 of your proposed resolution states that you can continue, the city can continue to attempt to negotiate with the property owner. However, it's important to note that your decision tonight regarding the necessity of the project is essentially a final one, and the negotiations would involve the appraised value of the property. What is the property worth? Any other issues would be reserved for court action.
They appraised the considerations provided, including potential payments for what was mentioned for insurance, reconsideration of the property assessment. All of those would be on the table in negotiation during the period between the time the city declared the public necessity and a presentation to a superior court.
Correct.
And what would be the timing of the presentation to the superior court?
Well, this is the very first step. You can't do anything without this.
I understand.
I would imagine that the action will be commenced very soon because negotiations have, as Mr. Dio pointed out, taken a couple of years already. The project needs to go forward.
Very soon could mean very many things.
I would say within 60 days.
60 days, thank you.
That's an estimate, but you need to get possession of the property.
Jeff, Gary and Richard, all the things that Mr. Giegel mentioned that you would like to have as a fire hydrant, that's still on the table when we're negotiating after this is approved, if it's approved?
I assume to the extent that that goes to compensation for the value of the property, it is still on the table. And your resolution, as I said, specifically makes note that city staff is authorized to institute and prosecute an action, but also to, it's not prohibited that they discuss settlement with the parties at any point in time prior to the court action being filed.
We'll get back to you.
City, we need to supply water to our citizens. That's what the water line is there for. I hate condemnation, we just have to grind to do something like that. We've got to, I believe, do what is best for the public's interest.
In the 14 years that I've acted as your city attorney, you have not exercised the authority of eminent domain. And I can assure you that that's a policy of the council that has been carried out. This wouldn't be happening if it wasn't necessary.
If we don't pass this, and we make a recommendation to the council that we sit down with Mr. Dyko, our engineer, and try to work something out.
I can't recommend that. I think that Gary can probably tell you the practicalities of it, but you've got a project that's basically moving forward. And as you recall, many months ago, the council was given a factual background with respect to this being an emergency, basically. So I think you're really in a position where you have to look at the question of whether this is damaging the public. This line evidently serves the entire city.
Oh,
I'm ready to move ahead myself on both these resolutions. We haven't had it for 2 years.
any other comments on that?
I don't have any questions, Mayor.
Mr. Dyble, you make a comment?
Excuse me, the section of the pipe has already been installed. It's my understanding that that was the dangerous part that already had a leak, that the emergency part has been resolved. Is that true? Mr. Gio?
We'll have to hear that, because I don't know.
Yeah, the part that we replaced had already sprung a leak. The rest of this could spring a leak at any time. In fact, the portion that runs down here and because this line goes all the way out to the museum and then down the state highway, we've already had leaks on that portion that we've had to just jury rig to get by right now. I mean, it could happen anytime, just like the other one.
Would need to be replaced, you're saying?
Yes.
And my understanding is that you're deciding tonight whether or not it is important to proceed with this project on my property. I have received a notice from Mr. Matrango that this goes to court, and it's the jury's responsibility to determine that. Did we determine this twice? Is that true, Mr. Matrango?
Yes.
So whatever you decide tonight can be overruled.
Well, actually, you did not file a written request for the hearing. You essentially statutorily waived your rights with respect to whether you can contest the resolution of necessity. However, the mayor has given you the opportunity to speak on that issue. But he's made it clear also that essentially what we're talking about is the value of the property, not tonight, but at the court hearing.
I thought that was the reason for this meeting tonight. This is how I would respond if I didn't show up tonight.
I understand. What I explained to you was that the mayor essentially waived the city's right to preclude you from making that argument tonight. You presented your factual basis as to why you don't think the project is necessary. And I would assume that that's something that you might be contesting in court. But once the city adopts the resolution, that's the first step in commencing a court action. That's the purpose of doing this, and the city has to make findings that this project is necessary and in the public interest. That's what's happening right now.
Okay. There's also been displayed here that this is an emergency situation. I stated earlier that my wife and I have responded to any meeting, any written correspondence that has been asked of us. And there has been no contact up until November for at least the previous 4 months. So it has not been the depots holding this up.
The declaration of emergency was made by the council several months ago with respect to other portions of the line. What the city engineer is stating is that that doesn't mean that there aren't other imminent concerns and dangers involved with the remaining portions of the line, including the portion that would be located on your property, is presently located on your property.
Well, if it's an emergency, it seems like somebody would have moved a little faster on the city's part.
Appreciate your concern. I think the city would take issue with that.
I mean, you wait till 9 days before Christmas or something to bother me with this. And again, I'm going to be gone till probably close to February. I would like to meet with whoever's going to represent the city. We're very close. If only Mr. Gio had responded to my last letter, we probably could have resolved this.
There's still an opportunity to resolve it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments up here? We're ready for the motion.
I so move that we adopt resolution number 08-40, declaration of public necessity for the taking of certain property for the Mercury grade water line replacement.
I'll second that.
We will have a roll call, Mary, and you'll have to record that, please. I'll call it. I have a motion by Councilman Radjo and a second by Councilman Lynch to to approve resolution 08-40, a resolution declaring a public necessity for the taking of certain property for the Murphy's Grade water line replacement project. Code Civic Proclamation, I guess that's what that is. Procedure 1245.230. Any questions? Gradual.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Jack Bodine.
Yes.
Jack Lynch.
Yes.
And myself, yes. Resolution passes, is approved 5-0. Move on to approve resolution 08-41, a resolution declaring the public necessity for the taking of certain property for the Murphy's Grade water replacement project. Code Civil Procedure 1245.230. Any questions? We'll have a roll call.
All under the same.
Good?
Yeah.
Gradual.
Yes.
Say that like I already did.
Yeah.
Seaton.
Yes.
I believe.
Yes.
Maybe it should be.
Yes.
Should it be another motion? What, in a second for that?
I thought it was. It is. It is.
We made a motion on the one.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
No, we made it on the 40.
It's 40, not 41.
I read it, but I didn't get a motion. So let's back up.
Well then.
I need a motion on 08-41.
So moved.
Make it legal.
Now it's the way it's finished.
You were right to begin with, Paul. I have a motion by Councilman Radjo and a second by Councilman Seaton to approve resolution 08-41, a resolution declaring the public necessity for the taking of certain property for the Murphy's Grade water line replacement project. Code Civil Civic Procedure 1245.230. Roll call, Radjo.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Jack Bodine.
Yes.
Jack Lynch.
Yes.
And myself, yes. Carries 5-0. We move on to number 7, variance analysis of budget, discussion and possible action. Melissa.
Okay, what you have in your package is the variance analysis that was provided in the year-end financial statements from our auditors. I'd like to get guidance on what exactly you would like for me to do as far as a variance analysis.
Comment, question?
Yeah. Would you restate that question?
Yeah. I didn't hear you either.
What I've included in your package is the budget comparison that was provided by the auditors with the year-end financial. There was discussion last council meeting regarding a variance analysis. I'm just trying to get guidance on what exactly it is and detail that you're looking for.
Well, I was the individual who was asking for it because the variance analysis that I'm interested in seeing is against the approved 2007 and 2008 budget. We approved that budget, and we have variances to that budget, and I'd like to have that variance presentation made and an explanation of pluses and minuses. As I mentioned verbally, it looked to me like there were very significant plus variances against that budget. But when I look at this, this is the auditor's numbers, and it just talks about the general fund. I think we need a look at the type of thing that you did on the quarterly reports, where you show performance against budget, the different categories that format, I think, is quite good.
Okay, so those main categories that I use for the quarterly analysis
Yeah.
are which, okay.
And this doesn't really tell us anything. In the quarterly, you talk about variances, and then you give an explanation as to why the different categories are favorable or unfavorable. And that format, I think, is acceptable to the council and very informative. And what I was interested in seeing that is against the final numbers for 2007, 2008 budget year. Ending, June 30th, 2008.
You know, that, like, what we had in that one quarter.
Right, I was just trying to clarify how much detail.
Well, that's what we
Okay.
discussed. Make sure that we spend a lot of time doing something. So now we have a better understanding of what we're going to use.
I think going forward, I mentioned that there are two important, in my experience, with budget reviews, both as a manager and as a constructor. The first is budget to actual, and that comes in two flavors, both current month, or the report month, and the year to date. And part of making this a meaningful, to do budget variance, to have meaning, the budget needs to have seasonality factored into it, so that the fact that particularly many of our payments, or many of our revenue sources, are very lumpy in distribution, and it doesn't do any good to look at an unaccrued amount of money if what it's going to show you is you're operating in the red for 3 or 4 months in a row, and then you suddenly go positive when you knew that you would in fact have been accruing revenue that the state in its simple wisdom chooses to hang on to for a while. So I think part of the process is also providing a seasonality, and if there's an interest in looking at the past fiscal year, that would be a good place to show what that seasonality impact would be, because retro predicting, it won't be the seasonality won't be apparent, because it will in fact balance pretty close by the time you look at it over a period of year, a full 12-month cycle. So I'd like to see the calculation going forward, so that within the first reporting month after, so the council, if it needed to take action, such as we may be seeing with declining state revenues, it has the earliest warning possible.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I like the quarterly, and I think that's good. Point out what Lee is saying on a quarterly basis, it's from one year to the other. We got 207 coming 208. Yeah, I think so.
Any further comment? Okay, you have your direction, you know what you're looking now. Okay, great. So move on to number 8, and consideration of abatement and demolition of the Lowe's Hotel, continued from December 2nd, 2008 council meeting. A, discuss results from meeting on 12/4 between city staff and Tim Ashlock regarding code issues at the Lowe's Hotel. B, initiate immediate public safety measures as deemed necessary by fire marshal, building official, and city engineer. And C, order Tim Ashlock, owner of the Lowe's Hotel, to abate public nuisance. And we'll start with Richard.
Mr. Mayor, at the meeting of December 2nd, the city's code enforcement officer and the building inspector, as well as other staff, presented the council with facts related to the condition of the Lowe's Hotel. The owner, Mr. Ashlock, was present and participated in the discussion. At that meeting, he authorized city personnel to meet and inspect the premises on December 4th, 2008 at 9 a.m. And I believe Mr. Murphy, I don't see Mr. Silva, is he here? And Mr. Silva are here to offer a brief report to the council, which you requested at that meeting. I've also prepared for you a draft for your consideration of an abatement order. And with that, turn the matter over to other city staff for a report.
Boland?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Ola Murphy. I'm the code enforcement officer for the city. It's just an update on what went on after our last council meeting. We met, our last council meeting was 2 weeks ago Tuesday. We met that Thursday with the owner of the building, Mr. Ashlock. It was myself, Gary Gill, Bruce Silva, Steve Flagg from the building department. We walked through the building, first time we'd been able to get inside of it. We had to sign an agreement that we weren't able to take pictures, or else I would have bring pictures here for you to see it. But I'm going to defer to the professional opinion of Mr. Gill and Mr. Silva and Mr. Flagg. The building is basically unsafe and probably not refurbishable, remodeling, or able to save it at all. So all I'm offering you here is, since our conversation, Mr. Ashlock did put up gates on the walkway on Main Street so that people cannot access the building from the south side of the building, and he did put up a gate on the back so that people could not access the south side of the building from the back also. That walkway was pretty spongy when we tried walking down it. In the meantime, I did post the building. It's posted as an unsafe substandard structure, do not occupy, and I sent a letter to Mr. Ashlock telling him that it was posted and that he's should not enter the building without a building official from the city present. So we're at this point now where Mr. Gill or Mr. Silver or Mr. Flagg would like to add some comment on the structural stability of the building, or if Mr. Ashlock, you want to hear from him first.
I think we should hear from the staff first, and then we'll hear from Mr. Ashlock. So, and Matt, I imagine would probably be Bruce would be next.
When we went in the building, we basically went through the front and worked our way back, started at the bottom of the building, and worked our way up just to see what the supports and everything was like. As I stated before, it's a stuccoed building. It's actually a wood structure, probably built in the late 1800s, so it's not a conventionally framed structure. This is what I see. It's pretty much built right on the dirt. It's unlike some of the period buildings which have very large rock foundations. This particular one is pretty much in the dirt with there's kind of a hodgepodge of decomposed concrete, some added concrete here and there, and a lot of it doesn't even pick up the bearing of the perimeter of the walls. The problem is, somewhere in the 50s, it looks to me that the building was stuccoed over. I'd say late 50s, early 60s. Basically, I saw signs behind the stucco that the building was deteriorating before they stuccoed it. They had big patches of plywood over this 1x12 exterior structure. This structure that I'm familiar with, that I've seen a lot of in the Mother Lode, this particular one is kind of what I call a fast track building. It was one that was basically all wood. They slammed them up, single wall construction. They wallpapered the inside of the 1x12. And that 1x12 was the supporting of this structure, including beams and girders that would run down each side. The skin behind the stucco, which is these 1x12s, which would act like, let's say, studs on a conventional house, those are all pretty much rotted. Where they support on the dirt and around here where there should be a foundation, they're all rotted off. At that point, it looks like the stucco, to me, is carrying most of the load. There are supports on the building, which is a girder and a post design that goes down each side that these would rest onto. Most of those don't support all the way to the foundation or the ground. A lot of them are just hanging in air. There were some of them completely removed. Other ones were rotten. There was some. The building, half of the building, the front half is kind of a commercial section underneath, and then it goes to which is a commercial enclosure of offices, what have you.
The second half is like underfloor area. Well, somewhere down the line, somebody took out a lot of supports and put in apartments in the underfloor area, which is in an unconventional, unqualified manner. So what happened is, what little supports were left there were cut out. So there's one area over the porch that they were talking about, Olin was talking about on the, this would be the south side of the building. The building takes a jog and comes inward with the porch coming into the side of the building at that point there was virtually no support on that exterior structure. So that's the part that's leaning against the other building. I guess the owner has a bunch of building materials up there, which ironically is right on that area, which makes it even more of a concern. So that's about the gist of it that I see. A lot of electrical issues. I mean, like I say, it looks like there's been a lot of unqualified people just hacking away on the 70 side and doing electrical, doing plumbing. There's some new plumbing that goes all the way down, drops down from the second floor, drops down in the first floor, the basement area, and then it just looks like it should go to the sewer, and it just ends. It's open. So I don't know if it was being used that way, or there's signs of water, like it's been running, undermining, there's some concrete there. I don't know if it was from that or what have you. Like I said, it's been, unoccupied for what, it was about 7 years, so, you know, anything that was running around there is pretty much dried up. There was no real smells. The public way, over the public way, that front deck area, we walked out over there, and it definitely needs attention right away, and that's over the public way. The building just all around shows signs of neglect, and with all these numerous alterations, it just kind of, it's pretty bad. It's probably one of the worst I've seen in the Mother Lode as far as commercial structures.
Okay, thank you. Steve?
You know, really don't have much to add other than the condition of the building. It speaks for itself. It's unsafe. Somebody's going to get hurt, whether it's on the sidewalk, on the outside, whether it's inside. I pretty much concur with Bruce and the scary condition of the building is. I don't know what you do with it, you know, at this point, but it needs to be secured. That's the least. So you'll hear what Gary has to say.
Okay, thank you. Gary?
Yeah, we definitely have some tough ones tonight. I concur completely with what Bruce said. This is one of the worst buildings I've ever seen in all my years, either in the structural condition of it. You have a memo in your packet, I'm pretty sure, that I sent to the director on inspection. I mean, I basically concur with everything you said. It was a pretty neat building at the time, because even looks like no bank vault in the bottom of it that was down there, and I mean, it's sad that it's in the shape it is, but in my opinion, I don't see how you could economically repair it, so that's what you got.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ashlock, would you like to comment?
On what?
Anything that you would like to. You don't have to, but I'm giving you the opportunity.
Well, I appreciate that Gary and Gaio and Bruce Silva and all of them did this inspection. And I don't have the trained eye to say, okay, this is totally not doable or totally doable. I personally believe, and have had people look at it, that thinks that this building can be restored. I didn't buy the building to tear the building down. And it has a lot of history for Angels Camp, many, many years of it, obviously, that I have not, I was not an owner of it. But at the same time, I'm not convinced it's not restorable. And so I'm looking at options at this point. Last time that we met, we went through the long process of dealing with the city, the building departments, the change of leaderships, the fact that I was not able to really do anything. In fact, after we had met and had the inspection,
I went to see Steve Flagg at the building department, I think it was Friday morning, and he wasn't holding out much hope from the standpoint of a positive attitude of what he saw in the building. But be that as it may, everything that was examined was stuff that when I received the demolition permit, I had opened up so that we could see where and what the various problems were and start to address those. And this was back in 2004. And so the things that the building inspectors viewed, things that Gary looked at and Bruce looked at, was stuff that we had already taken the time to pull the old sheetrock off, to expose the bad beams, to look at it and say, okay, get rid of whatever this dry rot is here. I have hours and hours of people that are involved with that, and tons of money clearing all of this stuff out so that it could be realistically assessed, which it looks like what Bruce has done. Now, I'm not disagreeing with the assessment. I would like to get rolling on this, and for the very first time, in the period of time that I've owned this, in talking to Steve after our meeting the other night, I said, what can I do? Okay, what can I do without a permit? Because I'm not haven't been able to get a permit for 6 years. He says, make it safe, because I had a suggestion to put up a nice wrought iron gate to keep people out from the upstairs, because our tape, our stay away, our caution signs have not been doing any good every time that we have put them there. He said, board it up. I said, what about a gate? No, just board it up. Boarding to me takes away from the enhancement of the downtown. If you will go down past the load, you will see that a very nice wrought iron gate has been made. In the back, a very high 7-foot-plus gate has been made to clear off anyone that would be going around that deck. And the soft spots in the deck at the same time were replaced so that if someone did get up there, it's much safer. This has all been taking place in the last 2 weeks in conjunction with other meetings, and the last time I had any call was from Olin. Last Friday, he talked to my wife, and I didn't even know what it was about. I called Olin on Saturday. He said, yes, there was a safety and services meeting. I find out about a safety services meeting and what you're talking about, the recommendation tonight, from a news reporter. Is the owner of a piece of property supposed to be getting all of this information from a news reporter? I appreciated it. I have yet to receive the letter, but that's because of the snowstorms that we've had. I've been out of town one day, and I couldn't get to the mail today, or I didn't get to the mail today. So there probably is a letter waiting for me that is explaining what Mr. Murphy explained, but I have not seen it. So I'm not real familiar with what the abatement process is. I'm not familiar with what you gentlemen wish to proceed on this lower hotel. So I don't know where I would be willing to go from at this point. But I am concerned for public safety. I've already had someone look at the deck to make a change and a modification in that, to make that safer. I have not had this opportunity, and I have mentioned this before, to do the kinds of things that I would want to do. I could not put doors in, I could not put windows in, I could not, it's always another need or another comprehensive change that has been forced upon me before I can do anything. And so I really feel like I should have almost been brought in here in handcuffs, because I have been handcuffed and imprisoned by the fact that I really have not been able to do anything with this building since I purchased it. And I understand there's another side to the story when you go down the codes and the building permits applied for and what was this and this. But I have an exact itinerary dated every day of what has taken place relative to this building. And I, like Mr. DeBolt, sometimes have to ask, okay, where is the cooperation? I don't know about the greatest parts of the history of the building. I know there's some significant history there. I know that was a Wells Fargo vault before California was a state. and then subsequently a jail. And it is so rock solid that you could build a building around that jail structure. But will I have the opportunity to continue to look at this and say, okay, realistically, what can we do? If we can't, and it's economically unviable, then I have to look at that. But that's my comment. I appreciate your indulgence.
Thank you. Bruce, explain to the council the process for a commercial building to go forward as far as, I think from the last city council meeting, you alluded to the fact they had to submit a plan.
Yeah.
I'd like you to explain that to us again so we understand what, this is a commercial building we're dealing with on a residential building. So
Actually, I've had numerous talks in our office with him, Mr. Ashlock, through the years of trying to get somewhere with this thing. And I think the real need is to get professionals involved with this. It's not something that a person that doesn't have at least a professional building background experience or of any kind can undertake. And I think that's one of the reasons we're at this point. Basically, the person, we're having trouble understanding that. And from, I guess it's been quite a while, over a year, I requested the engineering for that reason, because we really didn't know anything about the building. The building started out to be a code enforcement. I guess it went for sale, and then it was picked up, and it's always been a code enforcement issue. At this point, it's a danger to not just the public walking into it. It's a danger of collapse. With that in mind, it needs professional attention, which would be a licensed engineer and a licensed contractor, or somebody that has the knowledge to understand what needs to be done. And this was portrayed before, and like I say, in the past, and there was a permit issued on one of the most immediate concerns, which was the porchway over the public way, which like I said, went delinquent from non-action. The engineer request to get an engineer to assess this building, come up with a plan, has gone to non-action. So it's kind of like I hear this stuff that is not understanding yet. I've spent a lot of time, including other staff, speaking to Mr. Ashlock about these things. So my thought is right now, after we saw the structure and the condition it's in, because it has been opened up, after he opened it up, it probably did open up some of the structure for a better view. That was under the demo permit, which has also gone delinquent because we never got a request to come in there to look at the issues. So now we have got in, based on your good judgment, having us making a request for us to go in, and the health and safety code is pretty clear. It's a hazardous, dangerous building. So it says we have to abate. He can come up with a plan, but it's going to require a structural engineer. At best, if you decided to take that on financially, anything's a possibility. It'd have to be in an expeditious manner, because it needs to be taken attention on it right away. There again, that would require, my best guess, in order just to get it to that point, you'd probably want to get an engineer, you'd have to get an engineer in there to go ahead and do an engineered plan of shoring, something to arrest the building, especially the walkway, and come up with that plan. That would be submitted to our office, and then approved, and then a permit would be issued, and then the work would have to start. And that's basically the way we've done all of it, and we've always done with every permit. Somebody comes in, they ask us questions. We give them as much information as we can verbally, what have you. Then we tell them what they need to do. They go out and they get the people to do it, the professionals as needed. And then they submit a set of plans, and at that point we issue a permit. Or we get back to them with conditions to meet that plan. But it's not a matter of doing what you want to do, it's doing what works for the code and with state law. And that's been part of the issue, I think, is what the owner wants to do and what what's required by our department is two different things. So I guess there seems to be an impasse in that area. So here we are, X amount of years later. The solution, I don't know what the solution is. Unfortunately, we are in an abatement situation here now. So that could mean one of two things: either demo the building, or someone has to rebuild it or repair it. It's just a matter of who. Is it going to be the owner? Well, depends on the track record. Is he capable of doing it? Is he capable of hiring a professional to do it? Is he financially capable to do it? Or is the city willing to restore 1,800 buildings? See, we're dealing with all those issues, but demo is usually the process that's available if no money's available. So at this point, that's kind of a wrap. But as far as permits, yeah, we've done nothing but communicate, and there's always been, by the time we communicate, there's a long period of silence between each time. So by the time we get back together again on it, it's the story kind of changes, and because everybody's going off memory, they're going off strictly discussions to get to the direction of getting approved plans submitted. But until approved plans are submitted, it means absolutely nothing.
So he would have submitted some type of a plan to restore, make the building safe as far as the total building. That's what you're...
Yeah, I have kind of a, if there's an option available, I have kind of an idea. It would have to be expeditious. This building has to be taken care of right away. Within 30 days, they would have to shore the building out, and that would be through an engineer. That needs to happen right away. Engineer could go in, come up with some kind of design, possibly, that shore the building, keep the rest of it from falling down. That's the main concern right now, especially the front porch over the public way. At that point, I'd recommend, within 90 days, coming up with a plan to do the repairs on the building and get that going. And then after that, get permits for those items. Then after that, look at what you want to do with the building as far as, how you want to address it for occupancy. But at this point, like I said, there's all these apartments that were put in under the back area. There's no light and ventilation, no viable access out of the building, and it's dangerous. I mean, if anybody would have been occupying that thing in the condition it is, it would have been very dangerous. But like I say, there's solutions. It's going to cost a lot of money and take professionals to do it.
Comments, questions? Yeah.
Yeah, Bruce, but you're saying also with the same breath that public walkway cover is not fixable, that should come off?
No, it's not necessarily fixable, but it needs to either come off or be repaired. It's unsafe, and it's growing unsafe more so every day. At least it should be shored up, but I would want an engineer to address that. Shore it up, and sometimes I'll do a tunnel structure through it, shore it up with a typical commercial building. Sometimes they go around them with a kind of a plywood fence. Of course, the problem we have there is we have a sidewalk that's got a 2-foot drop, so pedestrians can't go around it. So there's some issues like that, but you got to look at the building too. The owner really needs to realistically assess the building if it's cost effective to build it, because it almost looks like you'd have to remove the whole exterior of the building to get to the point to make it work, and do a new foundation. So at that point, do you want to build a period building that looks just like it? It's a question I can't answer. I'm just bringing it out to you.
And how does this fit into the historical district? How does this fit into the historical?
I don't know the historical aspects. It probably has historical significance. I don't believe it's on the registry of any kind. I don't know that at this point. We're dealing with a dangerous building that needs to be fixed. At this point, that's the main concern with my end of it.
Any other comments?
We have, what I've been listening and what I'm trying to do is summarize the specific findings of the council so that our abatement plan has a sufficient specificity to be executable. The first item that seems clear is what we're calling the walkway at the front of the hotel constitutes a clear, present, imminent public hazard. And so the first item that it seems to me is that needs to be brought to a safe, it needs to be brought to a safe status immediately. Whether that's removal or shoring or other actions, I'm not qualified to say, but I believe that we have a responsibility, once particularly the issue has been addressed, to take action on it. So I'd say the first item is that the walkway needs to be addressed in a very short period of time. The second item is the combustible materials that have been stored in the structure. It seems clear that they must be removed. And it sounds like that would perhaps even take some of the stress off of the building.
Well, I'm looking at the stress part more than the fire department might be looking at the fire part of it. But if there's a lot of material exceeding the normal floor load over an area where there is no support.
I'm also hearing that we have a condition where we saw pictures last time, and we can verify it by walking down there yourself, that is actually impinging the integrity of the building next to it.
Actually.
Leaning is something that would, again, it seems to me to be an urgent matter because it's actually impinging on additional private property. Those three things seem to me to be clear actions that, taken collectively, might provide a period in which a plan, and I assume the plan, the first step in the plan is to decide the either go or no go kind of decision. Is it worth trying to attempt restoration? That's really a decision that has to be made by the owner and consulted with their advisors. So I feel that the city's service would be met by setting a date for such a plan to be delivered, so that it could be determined based on the actions of the owner and professional advisors as to what they choose to do.
As far as the historical significance, it's been standing there for 70-plus years that I know of. It's been falling down for 40. I think that from what I'm hearing here, 30 days, you beat that building up. Those deadlines have to be met. The safety of you give us something. Then if they set up a plan and they said 90 days, and I'm really figuring that, I hate to see it go down, but a 60-day deal to come back with a specific plan. Are we going to fix it? What it's going to cost us, and I'm thinking you're going to have to start from the bottom up. Those flat rocks underneath there, I know they used to build on flat rocks all over the place. To meet all the new code, and so what I'm saying, an abatement plan, I think we ought to give him the opportunity to come back in 30 days, address the safety issues that's beefed up out there in front. You feel that's asked that might be too long, isn't it?
Wait a minute, you're saying that we're giving 30 days to come back and tell us what he's going to do?
No. He got to come up he's got 30 days to stick that building back up. That's what I'm hearing.
Especially the walkway.
Especially, yeah.
The safety issue.
There's got to be beefed up. Okay. Then he, in another 30 days, come back with a specific engineered plan of what he's going to do there. And I hate to go through the abatement process that we went through down there in Finnegan Lane. It took us years. We don't have that. We don't have that luxury here because somebody's going to get hurt, or there's going to be a fire truck there. So what I'm saying, beef up in 30 days to beef up that structure. Well, I'd say the first place is out there in the front. That's got to be too sweetie. And then beef up the inside there. I don't know how you're going to get it away from the other building. And then come back with the engineered plan and how we're going to do it from the bottom up. If not, then we have to make the process. I'd give him that much opportunity to restore and reflect it.
How about 30 days to come forward with what he wants to do to make the building safe first?
Absolutely. Look, and
So
if-
30, you're gonna give him 30 days to do that, so you can do nothing in 30 days?
No, no.
Trying to list it.
The first 30, he's gotta come up with beating that thing up with a plan of what to do, and that's something.
I would say, I would say that Bill, you beef up the overhang,
Right.
the walkway,
Yes,
to a safety standard that would satisfy our planning department.
Right.
Building department.
So you're stating that our staff is gonna go look at it again and make a recommendation of what he has to do?
No,
no.
I'm not saying that, all I'm saying is he's gotta beef up the safety part of it
I know.
within 30 days.
That's right. 30 days, beef it up.
The walkthrough.
Yes, and then another 30 days, come back with an engineered plan of what he's gonna do. And if we don't meet those timetables, then we have only one thing to look at, is the abatement process. And I don't mean 90 days later either.
Okay. Do you have a comment?
Yeah.
Okay.
We haven't, I'd like to address this to Mr. Ashlock. Mr. Ashlock, the council has in front of it, us, a letter, which in concluding paragraph said, this is from Mr. Gary Gio, dated December 8th, based on his examination. It is his recommendation that the city condemn the Lode Hotel structure. And that's pretty heavy duty stuff. Condemn the building. We also have before us comments similar to Mr. Raggio and Mr. Seaton's comment, concern of the public safety underneath the front porch in a pedestrian way. And action needs to be taken on that from the standpoint of correcting it immediately. And even 30 days on that is a long while.
Yes.
But I'd go for that. But then the next 30 days, there needs to be your call as to whether you agree with condemning and destroying and tearing it down, or rebuilding it and restoring it based on a valid engineer's precise recommendation as to what needs to be done structurally to make it a safe, habitable, usable structure. And that's the timetable that's in my mind. 30 days to secure the front porch, and that may even mean tearing it down, removing it so it's not endangering pedestrians underneath, or shoring it up, or putting a tunnel. That's your call. And we come back here and the council look at it and listen to the recommendation from our building department as to whether that walkway is safe. And then 30 days later, a structural engineer's plan as to what's going to be required to make the building habitable again. And then that would be at your expense to do that. And obviously, when you be looking at that from that engineer, you may be deciding, okay, it's beyond my reach, I'm going to have to demolish the building. But we have in front of us, from the engineer, recommendation that the building be condemned. And that's heavy-duty stuff. And you've heard the comments about people that have seen other structures, that they feel that this is in poor, very, very poor condition, and subject to the That's my comments.
Okay. Public comment, anyone wish to make a public comment? Step forward.
Dick Wamshurst, one of the owners of the adjoining building to the Lord Hotel, on which it's living on. I think the issue here is we shouldn't lose the building from the main street. That's the most important thing, that we don't have a hole in that side of the street from tearing down the building. Now, it can either be taken care of by the present owner,
or it could be taken care of by the city. And the city can approach it in whichever way they want. They say they haven't used eminent domain. Maybe this is a time when you should consider that. And maybe the owner can prepare for it. I think you should start eminent domain proceedings so that you can take the building and save it. Now, it can be saved because we have engineers and we have contractors that can fix something. It's in terrible shape. I agree to that, but we're near the point where we're going to lose the building. Don't want to lose the building no matter what. So I think the council can look at it from the standpoint of saying this is going on the agenda every week until we get this thing taken care of, because I think you're in a problem that's a weekly problem, because it could get worse pretty fast if it rains or the wind blows or something. So my whole reason for speaking is we got to save the building in some manner, either by the owner or by the city.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Dixon Collins. I'm kind of reluctant to, have things speak on something negatively, but the branding committee this has been a source of a lot of discussion. Just the looks of the building, the fact that it's leaning against another building, and it sort of goes against everything we're trying to do downtown and make it to be an attractive place for people to come to. The thing that worries us the most is that we're going to end up with a lot of, if someone gets hurt, if some indigents or something like that starts a fire in that building, and we end up with a real big press, that's not going to be good for our city. And so we would like to encourage you guys to do the best you can at getting this thing corrected so that we can, not have some bad press and we're on the line.
Thank you. Any more public comment?
I'd just like to say something. I did this on my computer. This will give you an idea of what the downtown's going to look like if that building's gone. So, but the other side of the coin is I've been in that building, and I wouldn't let my children play around that building. So that's something you got to. It's a key word that Lee brought up: liability. At this point, the city's liable because we're aware of the problem. We've posted the building, so we need to have some kind of decision. I don't know if you need to hear Mr. Ashlot get back up and say he's going to do something with it, or at this point he's decided it's just beyond his economic needs and he doesn't want to do anything about it. I think we ought to hear from him again before we move ahead.
It does look interesting with a hole, doesn't it? I think that from the standpoint of what I really have tried to do, and I have not been in a fighting position with the building department. I've appreciated what they've been able to do, but this last year was a definite. I've had nothing to do with the delay this last year. Nothing. And that is evident. That can be definitely proven. My concern has been now to go forward. I've gone forward since this last meeting to secure the sidewalk way around Richard's building. I was also told, and it was not with a structural engineer, but with contractors, that this building, it does not look like it's leaning, and if it's leaning at all, it would be on the inward side, and it may be your Wellhurst, your building that's leaning out towards mine, because the gutter's looking like you have a bow in your building. Now, if we did anything, we should probably do a laser study of the buildings to see, in fact, if there is a lean or if not, other than just what we're subjectively looking at. But levels of 6 foot in length do not show a lean. At any rate, your question is, what can we do? I've already talked to people relative to starting to make the walkway, which you're talking about in the front, safer. I would have loved to already have that done, but it's only been 2 weeks, and I've been busy every day just putting up gates and the other things. The walkway can be made safe. The 60 days, I don't know, because I've spent 6 months finding an engineering firm that was busy enough that would even look at a proposal for this length of time. For me to have a report within 60 days from an engineering firm, I'd have to know exactly what we need engineered in that period of time. If it's stability of the hotel, if it's to address the issues that you brought forward a little bit ago from the standpoint of stability so that the building is not going to fall, and we address the walkway area, that can be done. If it's more extensive than that, 60 days is not enough. And I understand, Mr. Raggio, that of your wanting to get things rolling. But we've all looked and said this building has stood a long, long time. And I don't believe, personally, that I would prefer to have an engineering, not taking anything away from Mr. Gallo, but an engineer that is not paid by the city to accomplish an objective of the city. Other than that, I'm willing to go out on a limb to find out what we can be done with this building in the shortest possible time. But a 45-day window and a 90-day window would be, I think, fairer to me, given the things that I have going on now that are conflicting with some of these time frames. And I appreciate what you can do.
Thank you. Okay, we'll bring it up here for consideration, more discussion. I would just like to say that I think it's really important that the safety issues be addressed in a 30-day period. And either by our staff making recommendations as far as exactly what needs to be done, or by private person, because that's the main issue. As far as the time frame to come with a plan, we could discuss that and negotiate that to be a longer length of time. But the issue right now is the front part of it, the safety part of people walking underneath that overhang, somebody climbing into from the back part of it. I don't know how many people have ever went to the back part of that building, up that little alleyway, and looked around, but believe you me, it's a fire trap, it's an unsafe area, and it needs to be resolved. Because we are obviously aware of the situation now, and we need to do something about it. And as far as the building leaning this way or the building leaning that way, that would be up between the two property owners, I would think. But we just need to make it safe so that nobody can obviously enter the building and nobody's going to get hurt out in front. If you have to put a cyclone fence around it or whatever is necessary to make it work. We're just throwing some type of a plan here, gentlemen.
But we have a document, the draft. I think that using it as a basis, I would like to make the motion. This is order to obey. The revised. I've done a little bit of wordsmithing, so I want to make my motion containing the recommendation, the modifications. These are the ones I mentioned earlier, so I'll just try to read this so that we can, and then give this to Mary for a final. The council concludes, and I'm starting on page 2. The council concludes and requires, and as I mentioned, there are approximately 5 items here. The first item is the owner must take immediate actions to abate the pedestrian walkway at the front of the hotel. Said abatement, and Richard, I get this wrong, please feel free to correct me, to be monitored, inspected, and approved by the city building department, and that this would be done within 30 days. Item 2, the owner must take immediate action to remove any and all combustible materials from the interior of the building. By that we understand to be those materials being stored in the building. Removal of said materials shall be monitored and verified by the city building department within 30 days. There's a paragraph that I'm going to move to a later place. The new paragraph that the owner must take immediate action to abate the leaning or contact of the building with the adjoining building, and such action will be monitored and verified by the city building department, and that would be done within 30 days. The fourth item is the owner shall must demolish. The owner must show cause why it should not be demolished, and that would be within 90 days. Any and all actions pertaining to the demolition of the building should be carried out under the supervision with the approval of the city building department. Cause not to demolish the building shall be shown only upon certified plan of structural engineer or other competent professional to be determined in the sole discretion of the council, and in such plan must be presented to the city building department and the city engineer for approval on or before 90 days. All costs of abatement should be borne by the owner. If such nuisance is not completely abated in accordance with this order, then the council may direct the city administrator to cause the same to be abated or authorize the city attorney to file action in the Superior Court of Calaveras County requesting the court to grant relief to abate the nuisance, or both. And the last item on this page is the owner shall grant authority for any and all access necessary by city personnel to carry out the provisions of this order, and further shall not prohibit city personnel from inspecting, photographing, or otherwise documenting the condition of the structure. And the remaining, the third page of it is, I would leave as it is. And I would move that.
The very first thing there was the 30 days, that was for the getting rid of the porch or fixing it.
Abating the porch.
I know you do, but I'd say number one, the 30 days, I'd move that down to 15 days. You ought to be able, I'd get a crew out there tomorrow morning and fix that porch.
I'll second Mr. Seaton's motion, and I think it's important that we read it carefully again so that we all understand it. So if there's any questions, then we can propose amendments to it. So I think this is serious stuff.
Yes.
And I think it's important that we get the verdict down, and Mary should really reread it to us.
One question first.
Yes.
I agree completely with Mr. Raggio about 15 days instead of 30 on number one.
I'll accept that as a second. I'll accept that as a amendment.
About 2 weeks when I got Christmas.
Listen, I know I could get a crew down there tomorrow morning. Just who I can.
It's going to be pretty tough for some of the kids.
I agree. But as far as doing something in the next 2 weeks, if you want to have 2 weeks, I'll live with, I'll just bring it forward.
I think the thing is, it has to be completed within 30 days. Hopefully, sooner than that.
Yes.
All right, but that's the outside.
Yeah, he got 30 days in each one of these proposals. Is that 30 additional, is that all 30?
No, that's on the,
Yeah, that's what I
from the
thought.
effective date.
If we could have 30 there, we'd be there a year.
Whether you burn to death or you get crushed, I mean, hell, it's not much of a choice.
Okay, so we ask you, you need to read that again.
Mary's going to read it.
Okay, number one is, excuse me, the owner must take immediate action to remove the pedestrian walkway at the, I'm sorry, to abate the pedestrian walkway at the front of the hotel. Said abatement to be monitored, inspected, and approved by the city building department within 30 days. Number two, the owner must take immediate action to remove any and all combustible materials from the interior of the building, and by this it's understood these are materials stored in the building. Removal of said materials shall be monitored and verified by the building department within 30 days. Number three, I need help. I just have owner must take immediate action to abate leaning of, is that, that's what I missed down.
Maybe you should need some help.
Yeah, if you could give me that.
Yeah, it's the leaning must abate, the leaning of the building. Couple guys here, it's the leaning of the building on the adjoining property.
Yes.
It's looking for a little technical help.
Well, shoring would, the building is leaning because it's actually settling, so I would think it would be more of a, at this point, I don't, just shore it up so it doesn't continue to that path.
I want to address the behavior of the building. I'm not qualified to do the technical,
Yeah,
but I'm saying that the problem is that it's impinging on its neighbor.
Yeah,
That's what I want to abate immediately.
And I reiterate that the need that this needs to involve the engineer.
No question about it.
That's first.
You're looking to stabilize it, Lee?
Yes, at least remove it from impinging on
Prevent
the.
it from leaning.
Can I just use this, Mary? The owner must take immediate action to abate the leaning, the contact with the adjoining property. Said abatement shall be monitored, inspected, and approved by the city building department within 30 days. Maybe just, we're trying to get across what we're looking for.
Everything is 30
critical
days.
issues need to be addressed promptly. Well, I think I'm getting hearing that I really should be talking about the contact of the building, whether it's leaning or whatever it is. I'm not addressing what's causing it. It's the behavior that I'm objecting to.
Okay, so
Each of
just,
these is an issue of the hazard. I said the contact with the building.
just so you know, the owner must take immediate action to abate the contact with the adjoining property. Said abatement should be monitored and verified by the building department within 30 days.
I'm sorry, crafting this on the fly is not always easy.
Number four is the owner must show cause why it should not be demolished. On or before, I think that's
Yeah, we said
90 days, okay, on or before 90 days, and any and all action to demolish the building shall be carried out under the supervision and with the approval of the city building department. Cause not to demolish the building shall be shown upon the certified plan of a structural engineer or other competent professional to be determined in the sole discretion of the council. Any such plan must be presented to the city building department and the city engineer for approval on or before 90 days. Number five is all costs of abatement shall be borne by the owner. Number six, if such nuisance is not completely abated in accordance with this order, then the council may direct the city administrator to cause the same to be abated or authorize the city attorney to file an action in the Superior Court of Calaveras County requesting the court to grant relief to abate the nuisance or both. And the last one is the owner shall grant authority for any and all access necessary by city personnel to carry out the provisions of this order, and further shall not prohibit city personnel from inspecting, photographing, or otherwise documenting the condition of the structure. And the rest of them.
And then page 3 and page 1 are.
I'm just saying. So basically, we're approving it.
You want to read that? Yes. That's why I agree. Yes.
Nothing in this order shall be interpreted to prevent prosecution under any other civil, penal, building, fire, or related codes. The council reserves the right to employ anyone or any combination of any and all codes to abate the nuisance described herein.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
Please,
We'll have a motion. Everybody is,
Is that seconded?
yes, it is, second by you. Yeah, I did too, when I wrote it down. I have a motion by Councilman Seaton, and a second by Councilman Lynch to order an 8. Lowe's Hotel. And the provisions are 1 through 8. You want me to read them again?
No.
I didn't have them all written down, right? Mary does, any questions about this? All in favor? You got a question?
No, I just say that I feel that it would give me the opportunity to save that old historical building without the immediate abatement. So it's not heartless. We're trying to restore that building.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Carries 5-0. We'll move on to number 9.
Can I get a copy of that? Mail that to me.
Number 9, Third Road easement update. Approved cost of paving.
You got it.
2009.
You get it?
And budget cycle.
Let me hear it up. You get it? Good.
Last meeting you requested, I paving was being called the Summit Road easement, and in your packet you have a memo from me along with an email from the mayor along with the estimate of the cost. The cost is around $7,700. One thing that I wasn't quite sure of, I'm gonna find it, there was a comment made about things running down on the street below. And Public Works has gone out there and put up 12 nails and small walks. I assume that's what the council was talking about, it wasn't something that we have to redo the paper. Okay, so we have it.
Any public comment on this? And we'll bring it back up here for discussion.
I approve everything, you know, and I approve the blacktop too, but I'm not too sure that we can figure that. Let's figure that next year budget. We're not gonna squeeze this out of this year.
The intent is to do this in next year's budget. And as I've discussed with the council before, we have to call it 1B money again.
Yeah.
This is a good candidate.
Absolutely. It just be more, but, yeah, I was gonna say if it.
Says that right there. Says it right here. Yes, it does.
Okay, yes, I see it. I want to emphasize, we're not pulling nobody out of the budget for that.
No, we're not.
The water's been running down that hill in 100 years and not even.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve configure for the, I have a motion by Councilman Bodine and a second by Councilman Randall to approve cost of the paving on the Summit Road easement in the 2009-2010 budget cycle. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Carried 5-0. All the way up to number 10. Where you at? Okay, we'll take a 5-minute break.
First time somebody gets hurt.
No. When we started, did you move a picture?
You gotta pick up all the glitters. You know what the best thing happens? Somebody get hurt, and then somebody will act and make a big connection. Turtlenecks under, instead of waiting up 3 weeks.
Yeah. Hi, Gary. Hi, Greg. How you doing, Jack? What's up? Long one tonight. Hiding in the back. Hiding in the back. Next meeting's going to be a short one. Huh? Is that how it works? Not necessarily.
Telling somebody up there, I was on the council with Raggio in the 70s, and he wasn't any better then. He wouldn't shut up then.
I'm surprised to watch his mouth. I'm surprised he can contain his mouth and his words.
Alright. It's raining out here.
I didn't get back until 5:45.
Thanks, Joe. What's going on, Joe? Are you talking to Brenda?
Huh? No. I haven't yet. Still no application.
I went in and quick.
I haven't talked to him. I told my brother and told everybody to get on. And my mom and Paula work together, and my mom's been talking to Paula every day. So they're out trying to settle in.
Yeah, that's right.
And Albie says it's always going to be that way. He goes,
Her mother just had a stroke.
oh yeah? Yeah. Didn't know that.
What's the matter?
Annie Duda had a stroke.
When?
Just last week sometime, but she's coming along like this.
Still in the hospital?
Shoot.
Well, it's a new process.
Nothing good.
All right.
You're going to be that guy. That guy's a poster. What are you going to do?
That's too bad. Too.
But I hate to see, you know, I hate to see Phil.
Yeah.
And he says,
A couple months later, the story changes, they come back and
oh, I hate them guys.
Look at that.
Hey, Gary.
How you doing this evening, buddy?
All right.
Got sentimental.
I've been in meetings that gone so much to the brain. And really, that's very smart. Because after a while, people are kind of sleep.
All right. Good.
Okay, meeting comes out to order. Go to number 10, justification for the water treatment plant for filter, discussion of possible action. Gary.
Yes, the title of this isn't really quite accurate. Basically, what I'm reporting to you here is an alternative of potentially doing a filter loading study. It's not justification for the fourth filter. We already know we need to do the fourth filter or do something else, so I just kind of want to clarify that. You have a memo in your packet from me where I went back and took a look again at doing the filter loading study. I contacted Department of Public Health, and you'll see the results of my conversation with them. There's also, I attached a copy of their criteria for doing the study, which was in the annual inspection letter. There's also an estimate from a consultant for doing all the studies that are required. The total estimated cost, and I'm kind of leery about throwing this number out of $150,000, because you'll notice that the Department of Public Health has not done this with the type of plant we have yet. So I'm kind of leery about where we're going to be headed down and not having gone through this process themselves before. But beside the fact, you're looking at about $150,000 to do the study. That includes all the study and also some plant improvements, because you have to add particle counters to the plant and keep them running at all times to verify that it's working right. I've also given you some projections of what we've already approved, what the city has already approved, I should say, with regards to water demand. And in order to meet the currently approved projects, we're looking at about a 40% increase in the filter loading rates. And
that we would have to get out of the study. There are no guarantees going down this road, so my recommendation is we keep moving ahead with adding the port filter. It's a known project, we know what we get out of it. We've got kind of summarized what's in my memo. I don't know if you have any questions, fire away.
Questions? Comments?
Yes, I do. I was the one that requested that we look at increasing the rated capacity of our filters. I still believe that that is a cost-effective way rather than looking as an alternate to putting a fourth filter in. The fact that we don't know how much we can increase it, we were given, that's not material, we were given a procedure by the Department of Public Health, how we can go about initiating that study. And I think I read between the lines, there is a reluctance on the part of our staff to undertake this. They're throwing out a number of $150,000, $130,000 to do the study. I feel that this is important to be done, and I feel that we should get another quote from another engineering firm other than Ecologic to see what their quotes would compare. And I know that we've used Ecologic exclusively. I don't know why we're doing that, and I think that in this case, we should get another quote, at least one other quote for comparison. I prefer two. That's my personal feeling in terms of being responsible and knowing full well that it may be as you project, but if we don't actively pursue it, we're just going to go ahead and put in a request for $1.5 million for a fourth filter. And I feel before we take that step, we ought to know the reason why we're doing it is that we cannot get a rate of increase sufficient on the existing 3 filters that we already have. I'd like to also make a comment when we look at the actual filter data. And incidentally, I thank the staff for being open and providing all the information they do. Although my comments may be, I don't want my comments to be construed as being criticism, but I do want us to be able to look at this with all the information. You look at that filtration report, and again, the city has done a good job. You'll see that there are only 4 times on certain days, and incidentally, the pattern seems to be the majority of them are on a Monday. And then you look at the date of the day before, a Sunday is very, very low, and a Tuesday is very, very low. And then I don't know the reason for that, but it seems kind of interesting. In that month of August, there's 3 Mondays. Is that wash day in the city? Or what is it? But I mean, what are those things that are causing us to say, okay, on Sunday we're fine, we don't need it. On Tuesday we don't need it, but on Monday something's happening, and okay, we got to put a fourth filter in there because of those requirements. I'm just putting that as complimenting the staff of presenting a complete story, and I'm just saying we need a complete story on increased filter capacity. But there's something that needs to be explained. That's my feeling. I was requesting that we get another quote or 2 quotes on doing a filter loading study in addition to having Ecologic's numbers in front of us. That's what I'm requesting.
I just have, want to make sure I understand the report. The study proposal, is the study proposal, does it cost $150,000 to develop the study proposal?
No. What's included, the $150,000, and again, I'm very leery about doing that because I've dealt with Department of Public Health too many times on this stuff. That is to do the entire thing. That's what Department of Public Health wants is first you have to present to them your proposal for doing the study with all the background data, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then they approve the study, and then you go do the study, which includes the particle counter. Then you give your results back to them. If they say it's okay to go whatever increase you can show works, then they will approve that. You have to do a permit amendment, you have to revise your operations plan, you have to install some new particle counter. $150,000 is to do all of that work.
So the sequence of events would be, if I understand, the proposal is the next step, potential next step would be to ask another someone who is qualified to submit to the public health.
This is all from Ecologic?
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm referring paragraph 2. We already have an annual inspection letter that found us in violation of.
Yeah.
So, if we go to another firm, I mean, treat this as just a procurement. We're buying someone who's going to, the first step is to get someone who will write a proposal that will be approved by the Department of Health.
That's the first step,
Yes, so it doesn't necessarily mean that people who write the proposal will do the work. They might, but they might not, right? If the question in my mind is that we put out an RFP, a request for proposal, to write the study proposal, because that's the first step. I mean, if the department doesn't, if the public health doesn't approve your study proposal, presumably you have to get somebody to write a new study proposal that will be, okay, fine. I mean, we all know this is very tedious and seemingly trivial, but this is the law. We don't have any choice about following the law. Unless you want to go to jail, because I certainly don't. The issue is, so what I'm hearing is that we need to draft a request for proposal that would then go out for bid. Did I say that? Is that what? Okay.
Well, if that's the council's direction.
Yeah.
I do what you guys tell me to do.
We all want to do things, so what do we have to do in order to do that? Well, and stay within our responsibilities.
Well, attached to here is a 3-page document, procedure for obtaining approval to increase filtration rates. That was given to us by the Department of Public Health. And that's a 3-page document, and that's already, they're saying you have that option of getting increased filtration rates. And what Ecologic has done is quoted, based on looking at that, they say that, okay, you develop and submit a study plan, and that's $11,000. And then you conduct a field study, that's 15 days, $32,000. And then you make the analysis, $39,000, and you update operational plans and permits, $31,000, and you purchase particle counters. And that's where he gets the total of $140,000. What I'm asking that we get someone in addition to Ecologic to look at this study, this format, which is approved by the Department of Public Health, and get someone in addition to Ecologic to look at it and give us a quote, an estimate, a project estimate to...
Not to write the study proposal, but to actually complete the, to assume that they're going to do what he's going to do here.
Right, to do exactly what...
But this is the proposal that Ecologic, this isn't, there's, maybe I'm being incredibly dense here. What the first step is, you have to have something to submit to public health.
Correct.
Someone's got to write that. This document is a procedure not a proposal.
Can I make a suggestion? Let's take a step back and look at the big overall picture. This project was envisioned almost 6 years ago when the city did the master. It was included in the master plan to add the source filter based on growth. The master plan projected it would be required by 2013. We're a little bit ahead, or that's in place by 2013. We're ahead of the curve with the water usage that's going on in the city. The connection fees were based on doing this project. The city has been collecting those connection fees, and the city currently has the funds to do this project already. So, and what I was just handed here is there's some concern that if we take a step back now and do something else, then the connection fees become into question. The other thing is the master plan was done in support of the general plan. Now all of a sudden we're going away from the master plan, which is required to support the general plan. So I mean, we're kind of heading down a slippery slope here. I just want to make sure the council is, and I understand where you're coming from. I have no problem
for another quotation.
Getting all this information.
Similar to what we have in front of us.
Please let me finish, okay? Please let me finish.
But don't be saying I'm taking you down the
No. I'm not saying you specifically. I'm saying we're heading down that direction. The other item is, in the budget this year, was already the money authorized for the design. We are currently under design of this project. So we don't want to wait a whole lot of time if I got to stop the design because I'm just throwing money there. So I'm just throwing that out for your information. I do whatever you guys tell me to do. So that's what I want to do.
Comment? A lot of this was based on projected growth.
Yes.
We're in the hardest of hard times right now. If
Yes.
there's 20 houses built in this town in the next 3 years, I'll paint and fall in it. There's just not anything gonna happen. It's gonna get worse before it gets better. I hate to say that, but I'm in an industry that I can tell you all about that stuff. And that's got to throw this, as Jack says, it's got to throw this in Chile, because there's closing houses back here being built.
Yeah.
250 houses or something like that?
300.
300 houses. That's not gonna happen.
That's already approved. And again, the city, by approving development, Dave can, go through this, those are approved projects. We have to be able to serve those. You cannot approve anything else unless you have a plan of how you are going to serve them in the future.
Well, it's not in the future, it's
Today. How do you want to say?
Because they have, once they file the final maps and do all that, then they either approve the title lots that you have, the 300 lots, and they can come in and build today.
Yeah, I realize that.
So,
The problem is we're already in violation, so we need a solution to not.
We're in violation, right, we're in violation 4 days and I'm asking, I guess, and 3 of them are on Mondays, which I don't know the reason for. What I'm asking for is that we get another quotation, or 2 other quotations, to give us ballpark estimates. Is there another firm, with Ecologic, ready and willing to look at this as a project? And I think we need to do that because we're talking about monies. We know the sentiment, and we heard a gentleman come before us tonight that spoke about the public is upset. There's 3 candidates that run for public office, and there were 4 candidates that ran for city council. I sat in a meeting where every one of them spoke in very strong terms about the water and wastewater rates. It's not it's what the people that live here think about. And I'm saying that we need to actively pursue and demonstrate to the public that we're doing everything for cost avoidance increases. And that's not taking us down any slippery slope, Gary, that is going to negate what was decided 6 years ago. I'm just saying that we need to show, okay, we have this proposal, this is not a very sophisticated number. This is their estimate. And really what I'm looking for is an estimate from 2 other firms comparable to that. And I feel that we need that in front of us. At least I feel that I need that as saying, okay, we've looked at something that is approved, would be approved by if the public health department. If you can show increased filtration rates they will change it from 1 million gallons a day to 1,000,003 or whatever per filter. And I don't know what the increase will be. But I'm saying that's I'm asking for it.
What will it cost us to get another bid?
Well, it's just my time, I mean, that's what you're paying
I know.
for. Well, I'm gonna have to find two other firms, no, it's gonna take me a couple hours, I mean, it depends how you want me to do it. If you, the reason you have the one you have is because I didn't have a lot of time, so I contacted somebody that I use all the time. If you want me to go to a formal RFP procedure and do all that, it's probably gonna cost you $1,000 of my time. By the time we type it up, we mail it out, we contact people that are interested, well, that's where you wanna go, I mean.
I feel the climate that we're in, we should. I think you could do that.
So do you want me to do a formal RFP, or do you want me to contact people and just get estimates like I did?
I feel that you would leave it to your good judgment as to what we get something comparable to this, would be fine.
No, wait, I was gonna say it's a good deal. Let's get together. After we get them, and after we start reevaluating, if we don't go direction, oh, we out $1,000. If we don't go for it. But let me ask you a question. This is way out in left field. If we increased the filter load after we did the study, if it's possible, it looks like it ain't, but if it did, could we put off that fourth filter for a while?
You're getting into legalities that are beyond me, you have it in the map, and Paul, you know, I hate to say this, but you put it off, it's gonna cost you. That's the way things go now, you know, it's always gone that way, so, I mean, you got the money, do it now, you've got it in place. That's all I can tell you. But I got, you know, you tell me what you want, I'm happy to do it.
That's heading off another trail here. But let's look at the other thing, let's get the other bids.
Okay, I'd make the motion.
Anyone want to make public comment?
Are you kidding me?
No, actually, I'm pretty serious here. No, the truth of the matter. Okay, now you can make a motion, Mr. Radjo.
What, no?
Mr. Lynch.
I'd make a motion that we get two other, I'll use the term study fee estimates. This would be something that Gary could do, the study fee estimates for that study for increased filter loading rates.
I'll second it. There's no cost on it, she's just gonna do it. Yes. Okay.
Well, you'll charge the hourly rate.
I have a motion by Councilman Lynch and a second by Councilman Bodine to get
Study fee estimates.
two study fee estimates for increasing the filter loading. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Carries 5-0.
Before we leave this topic, I think that I'd like to make another observation about the rates. When we had the study, there was a number thrown out of $11 per water rate per month. And in the study, we have a Angel Rose Avon Creek issue, and it's $11. I'd like to have the staff look at $10.65 is the actual number. I'd like to have the staff look at how much money we have already accrued with that extra $10.65. Because my numbers would indicate that we're picking up about $300,000 a year with that amount. And then I look at doing the math on, let's say, 200 connections of $5,000 difference between the current connection fee and the Greenhorn Creek and the Angel Oaks fees, that comes to, let's say, like $1 million. And if we have collected already, I don't know what we need, the staff needs to get that. What is the liability on the open lots against what we're collecting? I'm coming up with a number like 3.5 years, we would have covered that negative of discrepancy between commitments on connection fees versus the current rate on water. And I'd like to have the staff look at that. Because I think we could be close to covering the liability for discrepancy between $8,700 and let's say $4,000 in case of Greenhorn Creek. It's it's difficult to follow it, but I went through the numbers roughly, and I think we're getting close to it. If it, just theorizing, if that is the case, it's possible that we could say, okay, we have set aside sufficient reserves to cover those discrepancies on the connection fees, and we could then back off from that charge of $10.65 a month per residential unit.
Would that also hold true of wastewater?
Yeah, but I haven't.
You did the analysis.
I just looked at it on the water side, because there's a discrete number of connections that we've got to cover, and we are collecting monies, and I don't want us to be collecting more months than is necessary to cover that. That's the thought, anyway, in my mind.
What do you want? You want to?
I'd like to have staff to look at those numbers.
The totals are.
Yeah.
What the total are?
How much do we have in the way of a discrepancy between the $8,700 and the $4,000 at Greenhorn Creek, et cetera, $800 at Angel Oaks and $8,000, and then the number of connections. And in the schedule, the building department have estimated the number of homes still to be built in Greenhorn and the Gallery and Angel Oaks, et cetera. We ought to be able to come up with some kind of a number in terms of the liability, the discrepancy, and then how much are we collecting every year in the way of rates, and have we covered that or not?
Could,
Makes any sense?
could I ask Melissa to repeat back what you're going to do? So we, because one of the things that sometimes happens is we all sit together and we try to figure out what we're supposed to do. So I want Melissa to repeat it back as she understands what she's going to do. So.
Basically, what I'm going to do is go back from the inception of the Greenhorn Creek Agreement and look
And
at
Angel Oaks.
and Angel Oaks
And connection fees.
for water only,
Yeah.
and then look and see what the aggregate total is versus if there was no difference between the connection fees, where we would have been at.
Right, see what the difference in the numbers are.
And then we are charging $10.65 per month for every one of the connections in the city.
Right.
That's giving us revenues. I'm estimating it's like $300,000 to $310,000 a year. And then you look at those two numbers, and then how many years in time before you cover? I'm just saying, if it's $1 million, it's like 3.5 years. So I don't know the precise numbers, but I think we should, as a council, know that, because it is a finite number. It's not forever. And it was put in place, and I didn't see the original analysis. I think it started, what, 2006? The $10.65?
The extra fee on the monthly rates comes out of your master plan again. If you read through the master plan, that's where the financial analysis was done to justify that. At that time, it was less than that cost had gone up. We had to adjust it a couple times. But that's where it is. And just as rough numbers, Jack, for example, we had 800 equivalent units in Greenhorn, you had 200 units in Angel Oaks. There's 1,000 units. there's a $4,000 difference in connection fees, you're looking at $4 million. You make that up over, $300,000 a year, it's 10 years, a little plus minus, just to give you an idea. And if you go through the master plan, you'll see all the analysis is in there, so. And the way it is, that fee is scheduled to expire in 2015. There was any information I presented at the financial study we did, because in the master plan, it was pay-as-you-go, 2015, that fee goes away. So, I listen, do whatever you want. That's where it all came from, it's out of the water master plan.
Okay, you got your, what you want to do? Okay, we're ready to move on? Thank you. All right. We're going to move on to management of the city council meeting in the absence of both mayor and the vice mayor. A discussion and a possible adoption of guidelines regarding who runs the city council meeting in the absence of both mayor and vice mayor for the nomination of the mayor. So we have two choices. So listen up. We can have the person who has seniority of the three people left run the meeting. That's one choice. Or we can have the city clerk, Mary, run the meeting until you have appointed a mayor, and then the mayor will take over, and then you go through the process of appointing a vice mayor. So you have two choices. So you can, it's up for discussion right now.
I'm all for unloaded on Mary.
Chrissy's a good idea.
I'll run the meeting.
Well, that's certainly fine with me.
Can you go through the sequence and, Mayor, the first meeting in January, this council certifies
we will be here.
the election, and then the new council members are sworn in.
Right.
With this present council being seated. And then the new council members will be seated, of course, this man is redundant, and he's still here. And then at that particular moment, either the senior person, which would be Mr. Raggio, since 1972, or Mary.
Who take over the meeting
So
to appoint.
this group now needs to decide which of those two options.
Mary would be good.
It's just a poll, this is an opinion.
Well, you three people are going to be the ones up here. Yeah. Lee and I are leaving, so I'll vote whatever way you guys want.
All right, Paul?
And those people can make, I'm thinking,
You're so powerful.
you know what, I might do something wrong. I'm sure the jury would tell us.
Yeah.
Is that agreeable with you, Mary, that you're chair? How about you, Richard, is that all right?
Is that okay to do, Richard?
What are the?
Is that you happy about this?
There aren't a lot of options. Most cities don't provide for going past the vice mayor. I think in view of the fact that it's
There is a third way.
a limited period of time, basically she would be.
There is a third way.
Get that task done.
We could resign the mayor and appoint a new mayor of one of the three. Solve your problem.
Or a chair.
That is
Or a chair.
What's he saying?
I'm just saying, there is another, the mayor could be,
Limited purpose, what you're talking about.
mayor could be resolved, and you could appoint a new mayor.
Mayor for
You look in the, and a mayor, you could appoint a mayor for one meeting or half a meeting, or if you wanted to. But I think the easiest thing to do is just have Mary do
Is
it.
something wrong with Mary doing it? No, I say, she can handle it.
Do you need a motion?
Well, it's down as a minor to take action.
Well, then by golly,
I move we have Mary do the mayor.
do we have any public comment? Or we get it away? Okay, a motion?
I'd second that.
Who for, you?
No,
No, I didn't.
Rich, Jack won over
You have a motion by Councilman Bodine and a second by Councilman Lynch to have Mary, city clerk, run the meeting after the swearing in of the new officers and the mayor and the vice mayor are gone. Any questions?
I have a question.
Okay.
Well, no, the item says adoption of guidelines. Should this be put into the city council
You
meeting?
guys can discuss that next meeting, or the meeting after, or the meeting after. Or the meeting after. In fact, that ought to be a great thing to put on personal finance. First meeting in January. You want to know the truth of the matter? Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
I'll abstain.
Carries 4, opposed 1. Okay, we're moving right down to, lost track here, number 12, I think, a funding proposal for repayment of USDA loan. Alyssa.
Conversation with Frank.
I called Frank Rizzo to talk to him about our funding requirements for the USDA loan and whether we could use TO2 tax, the sales tax, or anything like that.
What is his title? Who is he?
Frank Rizzo,
He probably does it, don't he? Yeah.
area specialist.
Area specialist.
Anyway, the way that the USDA loan is written is that the loan must be guaranteed by the wastewater rates themselves. They cannot be funded by TOT, sales tax, or any of the other items we talked about.
USDA.
Yes.
So, you know, we guarantee them the rates, and then we get
Well, I have some, there's an additional twist to this that also you need to understand too. I did give you a memo that has, Melissa, did Elaine and Craig?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good. Basically, there was kind of three options. He was out and he got back, and so we finally connected today, and we talked for probably 45 minutes or so, and went through a number of different things. The options are basically, number one, that you could go ahead and continue as planned. We are supposed to have the loan close by March. Typically, they give you 1 year, and since the loan grant, and this is a loan, $3 million, a grant of $1 million, was approved in March of last year, well, excuse me, this year, 2008, that means that by the March of 2009, we should close the loan, and at that time, we would have to have the rates in place, which would be $81.15 per equivalent dwelling unit. That's what EDU is. Okay, so that, now, one of the nuances to this is that the $1 million was awarded based upon the understanding that the rates would go up to $81.15 per equivalent dwelling unit. The reason that they gave the $1 million grant was to keep it from going even higher above that amount. So if, for example, the rates were more like, let's say, at the $70 per month level, which is what it will be if we do nothing, then, and this is just for conversation here, because he didn't know, what it might be, but they may give us, let's say, $500,000 in grant money, or no grant money, or maybe even still give us the full $1 million. It was an unknown. But when the package was put together and was submitted, the $1 million grant was based on the fact that it was anticipated the rates would be at that $81.15 per equivalent dwelling unit. Now, the rates do not have to be in place until the close of the loan. And he recommended probably at 30 days, at the very latest 30 days before the close of the loan. He said that we may be able to get a 6-month extension. And so that would give us some more time before the rates would have to be in place. And there's other, dominoes that fall that Gary can go into it, related to the actual project and so forth. But as far as the funding part of it, those are a couple of things to understand in course of action number 1. Course of action number 2.
Before you leave that, at the end, there is a statement in there. I understand from Frank, Jack Lynch had a conversation with one of the USDA board members about this same topic and may have additional information.
Yes.
I had no conversation with any USDA board members. I called Frank Risso directly because I was concerned about we're going to run out of time, particularly as we go to the other topic that's included here, the Regional Water Quality Board and getting a permit all tied down, because now rather than having a hearing on the permit for the dilution in November or December, it's being postponed until February. And so I asked specifically, Frank, if there's a delay because we're on a regular aggressive basis going to the Regional Water Quality Board and they're saying, no, we can't hear you in December, we're putting you off into February, maybe February, and if it goes longer, are we at risk to lose the loan commitment that you've made? And he said, as long as you document to us that you're pursuing it, you should be all right. So that was the extent of my conversation. I had no conversation. I don't even know who the USDA board members are.
I don't either.
I wanted to correct the. And he may have said that, but I just want to correct it. But I was concerned about, are we going to run out of time when Gary has said this latest memo, we're going to be delayed on hearing on our permit until February. Thank you.
Okay, so I asked Frank about it twice because he said he talked to a board member, so I'm not sure what that was about. But anyway, okay, so course of action number 2. Council member-elect Craig Turco had talked about something that, he talked about reducing costs. And one of the things that I had talked to Bryant Jolly about, actually not this budget year, but the previous budget year, and we talked about the potential of shifting funds in the